Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. We are back. I'm back. It's been a while. It feels like it's been a while. Was I here earlier this week? I don't remember. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. But it seems like a week has gone by, but in fact, it's only been a couple of days, and James Gunn has us on the edge of our seats. He's edging us because, the trailer is almost here, and we're now hours away from it. Depending on when you're watching, it may already be out. But if it is out, then you'll be seeing us live. We'll do a live watch along and reaction to the teaser trailer if we can get John out of bed in time in the morning. But we will have to see about that. Also, I could say the same thing about me because I don't know. It's kind of late right now, so we'll see how we do in the morning. Uh, what was that, John? What did you say? Okay. With that in mind, we of course have a lot to talk about tonight, wherever you're watching, whether it's day or night or morning or evening. We had to talk about the Batman 2. There's some news on that front. Matt Reeves has been talking about again how they are filming next year. Is he bringing back his OG DP? Like we'll get into that. And then of course we have to talk about the Superman teaser to the trailer of the movie. And we got our first look at Superman flying. It's part of that. So we're gonna get into that. James Gunn, of course, brought a bunch of people to the set in the summer months when all we were seeing were behind the set photos of Superman in Cleveland. But it looks like a lot of journalists, he brought them on, told them, keep your mouth shut until I tell you to open it. And today was the day that they got to open their mouths and spill the beans on what James Gunn told them about the movie. So we have to get into that as well, of course. So, what details James Gunn has given them. And there's more interviews as always. Like James Gunn keeps talking, answering fan questions. So we'll get into that and so much more. As always, to do that with me, I've got with me not only John but also Liz. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Got to see my Craven movie. I also saw the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim. So it's been a good day.
Nice. I didn't see any of those movies today, but that's all cool. John, how are you doing today?
I have eggs and toast. I'm really good right now. I'm happy.
Yeah, breakfast for dinner. That's John went and he was like, "Are you guys ready to go? I'm gonna go make myself some eggs." I'm like, "Okay, man, you do that. We'll wait
Yeah.
for you." You
I
know.
shredded some Monterey Jack cheese. I threw that in
Oh,
there.
that
You
sounds so
know,
nice right now.
good salt and pepper, and
Yeah,
boom, that's all you need. And then good
perfect.
like Portuguese bread for the toast. And I used the best butter, Land O'Lakes sea salt and olive oil
Oh,
butter.
nice. There you
That's
go.
like
That's the
That's a
good
move.
stuff.
that's good shit right there.
That's the good shit right there. That's the good. We got Michael K in the
This
chat.
is not
Caleb.
brought to you by Brisk, by the way.
Yes. Definitely
Maybe
not.
one day.
But yeah, I mean, they're welcome. If you guys are what somebody from there is watching, by the way, if you are watching, hit the like button. We do like that. We have Manos time. Manos time is back today. What did he say? He said
Caleb
hello.
Underwood,
Hello back to
Caleb.
you. Caleb, a teaser being 2 minutes long is wild. Well, no, not exactly, because Superman should say soup in time and soup away in the trailer. Yeah, that's great, Caleb. You're even more delirious than we are. But you know what? A 2 minute long teaser trailer is pretty common nowadays. Like the first trailer, what was it? The first Captain America 4 trailer came out and it was 2 minutes. Really,
Yeah.
nowadays, teaser trailers are only teaser trailers in the sense that they don't actually tell you what the story of the movie is. They're just gonna give you themes
I
and
mean, the
imagery and
28
stuff.
years later one was like
But
over 2 minutes, and that was a teaser
exactly.
trailer.
But
And
that
that
but
told
the
you nothing. And that was like one of the
exactly.
best trailers I've ever seen. So good on
Yeah.
them.
Oh,
And
the voiceover.
Craven's
What
in
was
it.
the
Yay.
the wall like some whatever it was. But yeah, I mean their teaser trailer is not in the runtime sense. There's not like I mean if you're going by runtime, then what we got today, the teaser trailer was a teaser with 30 seconds. But we're gonna get into that later. We're gonna start off by talking about the Batman 2 because remember earlier in the week when we posted how John saying please don't say edging. Okay. I will not do that. And Liz is okay. Never mind. You guys are distracting me with messages and other platforms. Let's just keep our focus on YouTube and the people
No.
watching live. Or if you're checking us out on X, or Facebook, the world of Meta, or Twitch, the world of Amazon owned live streaming, whichever way you are finding us today, or maybe you're finding us on the piratebay.org, wherever you find us. I think it would be an honor if we somehow ended up on Pirate Bay. Wouldn't that be nice? Um, yeah, even though you can watch us for free on YouTube. Before I get distracted any further, the Batman 2 is still happening apparently, because Matt Reeves keeps saying it is. But before James Gunn blew up the week and decided that the whole week was going to be focused on Superman. Henceforth, look at my countdown. The S is backwards because I'm in opposite world, but it is a countdown.
It's
So
Bizarro
before
Dan today.
it's Bizarro Dan today. Bizarro. I'm gonna be watching the Bizarro Superman trailer and the teaser trailer in
Yeah,
the
this
morning.
Dan loves Penguin and hates Vic and thinks Vic deserved to die. That's why he doesn't
All
have
right,
fucking
you know
Penguin in the
what? Let's
background
just
anymore.
let's just temper our expectations, even in opposite world. Like Bizarro Dan like wants justice for Vic. So, but as far as what we were gonna talk about originally today, before the teaser trailer became a thing, was the Batman 2, because there's been new developments today, as well as stuff that's been going on in recent weeks regarding the Batman 2, specifically the script. So that's where we're going to start here. So James Gunn recently said, answering a fan question as he does. Firstly, because the question was like, what's going on with the script? Is it done? What's Matt Reeves working on it? And then James Gunn was like, well, firstly, no. I mean, as in, it's not done. Secondly, couldn't be the case as there hasn't yet been a first draft of a script. And then, now this is, by the way, straight away contradictory to what Matt Reeves has said before. Um, laser vision that like button, guys. That's perfect for the day that we're about to have. For the next, it's Superman week here at DCU Daily. Now, of course, the screen thrill here continues on to say they're still aiming for an October 2026 release, but that's looking shaky. To meet that date, they need to start filming by early 2025, and he's not wrong about that. I mean, look. Early 2025, I feel like they have a window. If they can start in March, or they can start as late as like June or July. Like, they still would have a year and a half to get it into theaters. It's going to be a tight squeeze, but they can make it happen. Like, so it's not like if they didn't start filming in February, they wouldn't make their release date. So it's not like early 2025 means they have to start like right when the year begins. But the questions worth asking: how is that possible when they don't even have a first draft yet? This is a sequel to a movie that came out over 2 years ago, which is true. A screen thrill. So, John, I want to start by asking you this. I remember Matt Reeves telling us a few months ago, and he was answering fan questions on social media as well while he did this, that he's got a script, he's just finished working on it, or he's pretty much got it down. I don't think he was very specific in his wording, but the impression that he gave was that the script is done pretty much, and that they're preparing to go into filming. Even though most of the actors, when they're asked about it, they're like, oh well, he's working on it. So I don't know if anybody has seen the script beyond the eyes of Matt Reeves. And quite frankly, it looks like James Gunn hasn't even seen it. So my question to you is, how far along do you think it actually is? Where is the misunderstanding here? Are we the people being misled? Like, who's the one doing the misleading? Or is this just a matter of Matt Reeves hasn't quite finished it to the point that he has submitted it to James Gunn, and that's why James Gunn is saying that he hasn't seen one, because he hasn't seen the first draft? But if that is the case, I mean, to be quite frank, I don't think the very first draft is what Matt Reeves would submit to James Gunn, right? The first draft he wants James Gunn to see is what he's going to submit to James Gunn.
Actually, I just thought of something.
Okay.
What if it's James Gunn being a little cock tease like he always is? What if he's like using fancy wordplay? Now, because here's the thing. The original draft of a script is not technically called the first draft. It's called the rough draft. So maybe James Gunn being like, a technical director, but also giving us that vagueness and like skirting around it, he's technically not gotten the first draft, but he has gotten the rough draft of the script, which is like usually like, okay, let's say it's
don't know.
No, hang on. It's usually like, let's say it's another 3-hour movie, so that'd be 180. I would say it's like a 200 or 250 page script. And then we've gotten the rough draft of the script, but not the first real draft of the script. Maybe it's like that.
I mean, look, Liz, I'll throw this to you because actually Liz is gone. Never mind. She's back. Hello. I just wanted to ask you this question because, in my experience, when you were submitting a script to a producer, let's say you're the one writing the script, and in this case, James Gunn is like the executive producer. He's the man who's got the money to make this movie happen, essentially, right? So, as a screenwriter, you're gonna probably work on your script, have multiple drafts for yourself until you get to the point where you have one that's ready to basically for you, you're like, if I got the green light on this, I can go produce this movie. That could be the 12th draft, the 13th draft. I don't know. It could be the 4th draft, or it could just be that you get it right on the first draft. Unlikely, but I imagine that Matt Reeves in his own, computer has worked out multiple drafts. And he's got a writing partner like Dylan Clark, that he's worked with, I think in the first movie as well, and in some past projects. And of course, he's got Dylan Clark that he works with as his producing partner. So I imagine that team has kind of massaged that script until they got to a point where they're like, okay, let's bring it to the head of DC Studios, aka James Gunn, and pitch it to him. It's kind of like when Patty Jenkins, when James Gunn had first gotten the role, she sent the script of Wonder Woman 3, and James Gunn was like, I think we're gonna pass on it for now because what we're planned for the DCU, and more so they just didn't really like what the script was. So in that sense, I'm sure, like for example, Patty Jenkins probably didn't submit the very first draft that she finished. It was probably like when she got to a point that if this was greenlit, I can go into production with this. So what I'm wondering, Liz, is does that mean Matt Reeves in his process is pretty far along regarding the script? It's just not gone to James Gunn yet? Or do you think that Matt Reeves isn't very far along, and James Gunn, as a result of that, hasn't seen anything yet? Because there's a nuance there, but there is a difference, right? Because especially when you're talking about can you meet your release date in 2026?
Yeah. No, I think there's absolutely a script. I think James, much to what John was saying, I think James is just referring to the fact that it's not buttoned up. There's not a final draft that's been approved, that they know for sure this is exactly how it's going to be. This is going to be the end all be all for Batman Part 2. I mean, they already have the majority of the cast signed on to come back. Zoe Kravitz has already talked about it. Colin Farrell has even talked about the Penguin appearing in 5 or 6 scenes. So they definitely know what is they're trying to do as far as a plot, what the background of this, what the storyline is going to be. There's a couple of articles out there. One says that they're going to start filming in the spring. One says that they're going to start filming in the summertime. So things are moving in the right direction. But I agree with what John is saying, that James Gunn is just trying to be vague and not give us a complete yes, because they're still working towards a final draft where everybody's happy. So I think they've definitely got something, and the couple of things that certain people have been saying, like I said, like Zoe and like Colin, have definitely indicated that they've seen something already, that they have an idea of what their characters are going to be doing in the next film. So we're gonna wait and see. I think it'll probably come out when they say it's gonna come out. But like you said, James cares right now about Superman. So so everything else is just is going to be on the back burner for him. He's not going to give us any direct answers because he wants the hype and the focus to be on Superman.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a really good point, because even today, everything on his social media has, minus like the playlist for Creature Commandos that he put together on Spotify, everything else has been about Superman. Which makes sense, even though there is a new episode of Creature Commandos dropping tomorrow. James Gunn knows that the big thing people are going to wake up to is a Superman trailer. Now, with that said, of course, there have been a couple of new developments. You guys in the chat have already been talking about it. Now, this here, it's a bit of there's an assumption involved here, because it's not like officially Greig Fraser or Matt Reeves have said this. But like it says there, reportedly, Greig Fraser, who worked on the first movie, and he's also worked on the first two Dune movies with Denis Villeneuve, as well as, of course, working on the Batman with Matt Reeves. Very well sought after, one of the best director of photography, cinematographers in the game right now. Greig Fraser, it looks like he is potentially coming back for the Batman 2, and and of course, again, like you were saying earlier, it's expected to begin production in spring of next year, according to this here. I want to dive in a little bit further into this, because it's not. I think when I said there was an assumption, the assumption comes from the fact that we got the announcement that Linus Sandgren has replaced Greig Fraser as the DP on Dune Messiah, and Dune Messiah is set to start filming late 2025. So. And it seems like that probably is going to end up overlapping potentially with the Batman 2's production schedule. So now, of course, I will preface this by saying, just because Greig Fraser left Dune Messiah doesn't mean he's working on the Batman 2. there is a
Yeah,
little bit of we're connecting
I felt
the
that
dots
was
here.
interesting. That was interesting. That's all.
But what do you? No, it's completely fair. Like it's fair to assume, like what big project would pull Greg Fraser away unless it's like some kind of personal leave or like he's got to take care of things in his own life. What else could take
Denis
him away
Villeneuve
from a
is just
movie
like,
as big
fuck
as
you,
that?
I don't want to work with you anymore. Get out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
But what do you guys? I mean, I'll start with you, John. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think because he is left Dune Messiah that means he's basically signed up?
Sorry, I just saw his like some of the movies he's done, and he's done a lot of a lot of movies where I remember the cinematography being very good. So first off, Dune Messiah looks like to be in good hands in terms visual wise.
No,
so
Linus Sandgren is a great DC.
Yeah, he's
no chump. This isn't a downgrade. This is like a sideways move,
not at all.
Anything,
Because I was kind of worried about that because Greg Fraser is, very good. So I was a little worried, but I'm like, bro, why do I even have doubts? It's Denis Villeneuve. The dude's fucking Kino. Like,
he's basically Warner Brothers. Like, when they lost Christopher Nolan, they were like, we're just gonna like make Denis Villeneuve our new Christopher Nolan. I mean, I don't think anybody can replace Christopher because he's a singular talent.
I mean, he recently fully got knighted. Close. So, congrats to Christopher Nolan. Well, Sir Christopher Nolan.
Congratulations. He deserves it as much as anybody.
But I think if I were to take a guess in terms of, I think it is the case of like, I think they're just being extra secretive. Now, I did go away and look up how long it took to film the Batman, but the thing is, it's hard to say because it took 14 months. But the thing is, they started filming in January of 2020, so that's kind of not fair in terms of an accurate timeline because of COVID. So, and Robert Pattinson also got COVID during filming.
I remember that they had to literally shut down production for a few months. Yeah.
Not months. It was like, I think like was 1 month, maybe a couple weeks. So don't worry, it wasn't too long. But yeah, it was. So that's not like a great timeline because I feel like I can imagine if I were to guess, it would probably maybe take like 8 months, 8 to 10 months, maybe.
When was it that we got the announcement from Superman that James Gunn that Superman had finished filming? Because I know they started filming like at the
late
end of February.
July.
So they've shot from pretty much the end of February to late July. So February, no, let's just say March, April, May, June, 5 months.
Yeah,
5 months.
And that was an effects-heavy movie. So, but the thing is, this is more practical based. Yeah, sure, there's a lot of green screen shots and shit like that, but it's more practical, more location stuff. So I can imagine that would probably take longer than Superman because they can just kind of, I don't want to say cheat, but like they can kind of, move around that with like green screen and stuff because it's very, you have a guy who's shooting laser beams and flying and stuff like that. I
mean, you could also say it would take not as long because they don't have to worry about doing as much stuff where there's, filming for VFX work.
I guess it all depends.
It's a sequel, so I bet you like there's probably some sets that were already built that they're just going to reuse, right? Like there might not be sets that are like standing up and, standing sets, but they'll have to reassemble them and stuff, but like it's not like they're designing everything from scratch. Plus, if you go off of how they approach the Penguin, where they actually shot a lot of stuff in New York City proper, that saves you a lot of time because like New York City already looks like Gotham because of course like that's the idea. So I'm just saying that it's very possible. Like to me, 6 months is probably enough time. Most big features of this
I was
scale.
just being a little more lenient, like maybe 8 to 10, like because I don't know. It's again the COVID thing really threw a wrench into everything, so I really don't know.
Well, again, they just shot the Penguin. We're pretty sure Penguin season 2 is going to come out, so they've already kind of have those sets on hand. It's all in the same world. It's in the same universe. So
exactly.
I think they are pretty much set up for success at this point. That it shouldn't be anything too crazy this time around.
Right. And so with all that, if I were to take a guess, like, because I know people will be like, oh, if it's not shooting in January, it's going to fail. Well, think about it like this. Again, going in January, that's when Lanterns and around the time Lanterns and Supergirl are being filmed, starting filming. Supergirl is coming out in June of next year, 2026. Right. So that's giving a good timeline, and the fact that, and with that, Batman Part 2 has an extra, what is that, 4 months? So I feel like you could be pretty lenient with that, and like they wouldn't start shooting until spring. I feel like makes the most sense. Late spring, early summer, like May, June seems like the good time. So I feel like they have until then to get a proper script. If fucking if Matt Reeves ties up his shoelaces and fucking pulls his belt up and fucking actually finishes this damn thing, if there is truly nothing, then fucking do it. Like, goddamn, my guy. But I think that gives like a good, like, reasonable thing, because I know we're so, it's not January, it's gonna be canceled. It's like, okay, let's not, like, you got to think about it in like a logistical point of view, and what movies, how long certain movies take versus other ones. Like Supergirl, it's heavily on green screen. Maybe it'll have a couple scenes on Earth. So, and then most of it'll be green screens or blue screen or whatever the fuck it is.
I mean,
so,
there's also been reports, like, for example, I think Steven Anderson was commenting on one of our recent videos. I mean, he's in our comments all the time. And he was saying, like, there's been reporting out of like London, probably like from sound stages, people who work there, like, oh, they're probably putting up sets for this movie again, and that it might start filming in May, which I'm like what you were just saying, it would line up well because they would be done filming by the end of the year. They probably will end up shooting some stuff practically in New York in the latter half of the year. Some of the stuff they'll likely do on sound stages, like they always do. Then they would have like a good 10 months to get it to the movie theaters, right? So which is enough time to do the VFX work, to do the editing, the score, all the stuff that goes into post-production. But with that said, I mean, again, just the big thing here is Greig Fraser potentially is back. I mean, Liz, do you have anything to add to that? Do you think it's too big of a leap to say just because he left Dune Messiah that he is indeed now going back to work in the Batman 2?
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, if I were Greig and I had the option of the two, like, why would you leave Dune? Because yes, the Batman is an amazing production, but like Dune is like, you could potentially be Oscar nominated. Like, I have a feeling it was a very respectful thing. Like when the opportunity came up to go back to the Batman, I have a feeling he went to Denis and he was like, listen, if you can get somebody that you trust, that was going to be good for you, and we'll do the things that you need to be done for this production, then I'm going to go do this. And I'm sure Denis was like, you know what, you've got my blessing, we've got it, don't worry about it. That's what it seems like might have been going on. Because for me, I'm like, why would you walk away from a production like Dune? But if somebody else is available to take your place, then it's a win-win for everybody. So I'm hoping that that he does come back. That would be great. Again, I love the Batman, so I'm looking forward to the Batman 2. So if we can get as many of the original people back in for this next round, that'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let's bring the crew back together again. It's a bit of an assumption, but it looks like so far, because they've got a different DP signed up for Dune Messiah, that maybe Greig Fraser is coming back. And I'm sure sooner than later we'll know that for sure. But it would be great, again, for him to be back. He did the first movie. Now, of course, speaking of the first movie, the Penguin was, one of the big stories to come out of the Batman, and then ended up having his own show. Total scumbag, but like whatever. Season 2 has been on the hearts and minds of a lot of people. Even the Colin Farrell himself and Kristen Milioti, you're like, we would love to do season 2. Would love to be back. Love this world. Loved Batman and all that stuff. So we know that Colin Farrell has mentioned he's got like a 5 or 6 scenes that he's signed up for in the Batman 2, which is, again, I'm like, okay, I guess Matt Reeves must be far enough along that he's been able to tell Colin Farrell that, hey, you're gonna be in there for like half a dozen scenes. So there must be at least some level of concreteness, let's call it, to that whatever script there is in place for the second movie. But with that said, now Matt Reeves and I think it was Zoe Kravitz and Matt Reeves, that they had this conversation in Variety. So we're gonna get into the article in a little bit, but I'm gonna start off because there's a couple of things here. Overall, there's the talk about the Batman 2, and then there's of course talk about the Penguin season 2. And so when we got to the part about talking about the Penguin season 2, Zoe Kravitz kind of asks him, because it was more of a Zoe Kravitz talking to Matt Reeves and they're just having a conversation, and then that's basically like a filmmaker on filmmaker, actor on actor sort of a thing that the Hollywood Reporter does. So they did something similar. So here's what Matt Reeves had to say about the Penguin season 2 potentially. He said, "Yeah, we're talking to Lauren LeFranc now, who was a showrunner of the first season, about doing another season. That was a special experience. I just feel really fortunate. These characters don't belong to me. They belong to the world. It comes down to whether you can approach them in a way that expresses something personal." So this is, I mean, look, we've mentioned many times that a lot of people have hinted, even Matt Reeves has hinted at, oh, we would love to potentially explore a season 2 and see what other stories we can tell. But this is the first time that Matt Reeves has really directly said that they are talking to Lauren LeFranc about another season. Like, this is the first official capacity in any way whatsoever that he has mentioned that there's active conversations about it. So Liz, I'll start with you. Do you think this means that we are way more likely to get a season 2 than to not get a season 2, considering that even Casey Bloys, who was, the chief of HBO, was like, we'd love for them to do more of this. The world that they created is so amazing. Like, he clearly wants it. So we know that if they bring it back to him, like, he's going to probably green light the season. And of course, you need that from HBO. But do you think that with what Matt Reeves is saying here, that they're much further along with this than maybe they were willing to let us be aware of earlier?
Listen, we knew from, I don't know what, episode 4 that we were probably getting a season 2 because the fans were just loving it. They couldn't stop talking about it. They were getting incredible ratings and viewership, and everybody was saying how great the show is. We knew we were getting a season 2. And Lauren LeFranc, like you said, like, she really cares about it. I saw her at the panel at Comic-Con. This is her baby. I guarantee you she has stories upon stories upon stories. And she's just got, more storyline to tell. So it's going to happen. They'd be stupid. Like, again, I don't expect it to be, like a 5-season run, even a 10-season run. We'll maybe get 3 seasons at the most, I think. Because we already are talking about the Batman being a trilogy. Yeah. So I think if anything, they're probably going to do that in line with the films, even though, again, I really hope that the Penguin is like as of right now, the 5 and 6 scenes in the Batman, I'm happy with. I don't want him to be a major part of the Batman films anymore because he's had his moment and now he's got his own TV show. But yeah, I think it's inevitable, and it cracks me up that they're kind of like tiptoeing around it. It's like, bro, like, stop. like it's such a success. There's no way that they can walk away from it. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, and the way you just described it, to me, I can almost think of it as the Penguin could now become sort of like the Godfather on TV, whereas the Penguin season 1. Hold on, I'm not making a direct comparison. I'm just saying it's from like the story of a mobster's rise and fall. Yes, believe in the Becks. Believe in the Becks. But it could be that the first season you see him rise. The second season you kind of like, see his prime, and the third season you see the fall. And you ultimately it's a cautionary tale. And so if they do go with this 3-season route, it will be almost perfect. And like you said, Liz, at that point, really the character kind of ends up being more relegated to the TV screen, and then he makes a few appearances here and there in the movies. But I don't know if they want to be in a situation where they completely remove Colin Farrell and the Penguin from the cinematic aspect of the franchise. Especially, like, I feel like the ultimate payoff has to be a direct confrontation with the Batman. And would you want to do that on television? I don't know. I mean, John, what do you think about this? Season 2, do you think like they're further along with this now, considering what Matt Reeves is saying? Do you feel like up until now they were just being kind of wishy-washy because they didn't want to give away that they're actually working on it or talking about it? Because to me, if they're telling us they're talking to her about it, chances are they've not just talked to her about it, they've probably like almost maybe agreed to even doing a season 2. We just don't know officially yet, considering if they did greenlight a season 2 of the Penguin before they got the script for the for the Batman 2 greenlit, the optics behind that would not be very good. Like, what do you think, John?
I mean, it was kind of up in the air on whether or not they would do a season 2, but it got so many positive reviews. It got like DC back in the critical eye when they, outside of like Joker, they didn't really have much of a critical thing going on. But now Golden Globes and is like the highest prestige a TV show can get next to the Emmys. I would say even higher because it's like sharing the, you know, titles with movies because movies can get Golden Globes. So, you know, and movies are always like seen as the more prestige thing, while television was not. So, you know, it is definitely saying something in regards to that. So, I think we will be getting a season 2, but it won't technically be called season 2. I think it'll be like another mini series. Like it'll be like the Penguin Bloodlines, or like something just like, or the Penguin Part 2, or
The Penguin Born Again.
yeah, like, you know, like something like that, or
Well, he
like
never died.
Gotham Uprising or some shit. So,
Yeah.
you know, it'll I think it'll like it won't technically be like season 2, so it can keep that limited series like idea, because I
Intact.
feel like
Yeah,
there is the idea of like the Batman and Batman Part 2 being heavily, yeah, I know he's only in 5 or 6 scenes, but it'll still be like at least somewhat of like a contingent of the movies.
yeah,
So it's kind of like going to be like kind of like a ebb and flow kind of thing to it. So I think they'll just call it another mini series rather than it being a TV show. If I were to guess, I mean, if it is, it's whatever. Like no matter what they call it, it's going to be great.
Caleb said the Penguin Resurrections.
Yeah, yeah, just like Dexter. You know,
the Penguin Reloaded. Oh, I like, that's my favorite. I think that's
the Penguin
one.
Revelations.
The Penguin just keeps swimming.
But yeah, what I think, like once they realize that, like from like episode 1, people are like, oh shit, this is something. And then like mid-season they're like, oh shit, this is goated. And then they're like, okay, we gotta continue this, don't we? And it's like, yep, that's what you got to do, because people are going to be clamoring for season 2. So they're like, all right, we got to do it.
Well, and again, they're going to have the Penguin show up in the Batman, because fans just won't let them get away with not acknowledging him.
No,
at any point.
We know he's I mean, he's gonna show up. Like obviously that's confirmed. I think his role might be a little smaller than what it was in the first movie. I mean,
and it maybe should be, as it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get into another car chase with the Batman, since you know
I got you.
Yeah. Until you don't. But I do wonder though, do you think this is purely motivated by the fact that it was so successful that they just need to do another one, which kind of then wades into the Joker Fall You Do territory, and we have seen the results of that. So I am wondering.
But well, again, they didn't have the showrunner for Joker that they have for the Penguin. I think that's part of it. Is you need to have the right people behind it, and they do, and they want to continue with it. I think that's.
But Todd Phillips was like the guy that wanted to run the whole DC universe. Like I'm saying, like Todd Phillips was even today.
He should have made better decisions. Oh well, too bad, so sad, Todd Phillips.
I mean, it's like in hindsight, you would think that, but I'm just saying, like at the time, you would felt like, okay, it's Todd Phillips and it's Joaquin Phoenix. They can do nothing wrong. I do wonder, like it's like if they go down that route, are we risking?
Well, he wanted to say,
wanted
to say, like, hey guys, stop being, literally me when it comes to the Joker, because you're not. So I'll explain why. Here's 2 hours of me explaining why you're a fucking idiot. So he decided to go that route, and you know what? I'm cool with that. I still liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it worked. It had some problems, but not, the worst thing since cancer, like a lot of other people claimed it to be. But I think it's definitely exciting. I just hope we're not just getting the Batman and the Penguin. I hope we're getting other stuff. I know they already denounced Catwoman, but like they could always bring that back. A Sofia Gigante show would be great. A Mr. Freeze show, a Lieutenant Gordon show. Bring back Gotham Central and Arkham. Do all the things, guys. Don't just limit it to 2 dudes.
Yeah, but, and speaking of of Zoe Kravitz and Catwoman. I mean, of course, in that conversation that she was having with Reeves for Variety, they were kind of asking each other, so what's next for you? Because of course Zoe Kravitz directed Blink twice this year, so she's trying to get more behind the camera and becoming more of a director herself. So she kind of asked him like, so and you're writing the Batman Part 2 right now, almost as if like you're gonna have me in the movie, right? Like it's like, and then he's like, yeah, we're finishing the script, we're going to be shooting next year. And then of course she asked the question of, are we gonna do more of these shows? Everyone's freaking out over the Penguin, and then that's where he mentioned like the Lauren LaFranc thing. So of course Matt Reeves again saying that he's finishing the script, and they are filming next year. Potentially, Greg Fraser's back for it as well as a
Lock that
cinematographer.
fucker in a shipping container and throw away the key, and then we'll have that fucking have the fucker finish the goddamn script. Then. So
and put like Mr. Freeze outside to guard the door. But anyway. That's not me hinting at all that's the villain of the movie. I have no clue. I'm just saying that would be a nice way to go about it, especially if it takes place in the winter months. Now, before we get into the Superman news, James Gunn had recently been doing a bunch of interviews talking about Superman. He also invited a bunch of journalists over to the set of Superman in the summer months when they were filming in Cleveland, which we didn't know about because he did a very good job of telling the people to keep their mouths shut until he told them they could open them. So today it looks like whatever the embargo was lifted. So all these journalists who got a chance to do the set visit while they were filming the movie, they started spilling the beans. And then as part of that, we have had some new quotes from James Gunn about the DCU come out. So the first thing I wanted to kind of dive into is he talked. And by the way, guys, if you are watching, we are working our way down to the teaser trailer. It's just like James Gunn is edging us, we're edging you, but like we'll get there.
I'm not edging you. No. Let's make that perfectly clear. I'm not a part of the edging. Absolutely not.
Neither am I.
That is all Dan. Dan is the edger.
I will take on that burden all by myself. That is okay. James Gunn did say Supergirl wasn't meant to be the second DCU film. So he specifically, to quote him, he said, I didn't necessarily know that Supergirl would be the second movie we were going to make, but Anna Noguera, wrote an incredible script. Other movies have been written, but they haven't been as good as this one. That leads me to ask two questions, Liz. One, like, what do you think? What do you think would have been the next movie after Superman if it wasn't for Anna like blowing them away with her script and idea for Supergirl?
I mean, honestly, if the Batman 2 had been written in a timely fashion, probably the Batman 2, to be perfectly honest.
Okay. And then the second question I was going to ask you.
Jazzed about it, I think is great. That's really exciting.
I mean, every time he talks about it, he talks about it in such a glowing fashion. I'm like, I'll be really bummed if we watch the movie and it's like terrible. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I have yet to see any Supergirl iteration that's gotten me excited about anything. But again, I also haven't watched everything that there is. But to hear him talk about it this way, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Like, for sure. That'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, then the second question I had was, he's saying, okay, we already showed that comment. James Gunn is saying that there's other movies that have been written, but they haven't been as good as this one. I'm like, what movies is he talking about? Like, and does he mean like they're
the ones
not
we're never
going
to see? The ones we're never going to see. I mean, he's
said,
only putting out hits now,
Well, he did say that Brave and the Bold, Booster Gold, and The Authority were like kind of like not there yet, or something like that. So. Okay.
Degenerates all.
And I'm cringing, and I'm supposed to be the pervert of the group, so that's saying something. But yeah, I think whatever it is, whatever it whatever it is, it's just I'm tired.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I can kind of see why he didn't intend it to be the second one, because you're going from Superman to Supergirl. I feel like he probably wanted some separation there.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to take a guess, he probably wanted the list that he submitted like January of last year, and it was like, oh, Superman, then The Authority, then Brave and the Bold, then Supergirl, then Swamp Thing. I think he wanted that to be the order, but then he was gung-ho on the well, we're also greenlighting as we go along once we get a good script. So he's like, and then I feel like with that, the list kind of went out the window. So I feel like there was going to be a bit of time before we actually really got into Supergirl. But then he's like, you know what? If it works, it works. Then just go with it. And you know what? I have faith it'll be good. You know, I'm not like the director's been hit or miss. Obviously, Anna Naguera has only written like one thing. So obviously, I've heard Millie Alcock is a very good actress. I think I watched one thing with the girl who plays Ruthie. I think she was in The Imaginary this year. I think she voiced one of the characters in that movie. She did a very good job in that movie. So, and then you have Matthias Schoenaerts, or however you fucking pronounce his name,
Matthias
as
Schoenaerts.
Crumb, as Crumb of the Yellow Hills or whatever the hell. And I've seen him and stuff, and he's good.
Yeah.
But I like how they're not using like super duper mega A-listers. Like the most known is Millie Alcock, and that's just because she was in House of the Dragon for a couple episodes. So like awesome, great, cool. Let's like move on with that. So it's like I like that as well, like how they're, you know, kind of doubling down on the, well, let's not get the super mega A-listers, and let's not like have Sydney Sweeney as Supergirl, Keanu Reeves as Crumb, and then Millie Bobby Brown as Ruthie. It's like you're not getting these big, well-known names.
I think really Millie Bobby Brown is a little too old to play Ruthie. But
no, I know that was. I don't know any kid actors. Like I don't fucking watch like Disney Channel anymore, so I don't know that shit.
I don't know. Anyway. I aged out of there, but way back.
McKenna Grace, she's younger. Okay, let's go with that. But yeah, so I like how they're not doing that. So, that's another like side thing. But yeah, I think it was like the intention was the original list.
Yeah.
But then
it's fair.
Things change.
Yeah. And you know what, James Gunn has always said that he's gonna have that flexibility. But when they initially announced that for slate, Supergirl was part of the slate. So I'd imagine like the Anna Naguera thing happened pretty early on when they were going on their whole like retreat to put together the plan for the new DCU. So it might have happened around that time. So obviously it's been a pretty much from the day that we found out about the rest of the DCU Chapter 1 Part 1. Supergirl has always been a part of that. And like you said, maybe even like doing the strikes and everything, it probably pushed a few things back, and that ended up potentially just moving Supergirl up almost by default. But still, he loves it. He talks about it like in glowing terms. Now let's kind of continue on and let's talk about Superman more so, because we're getting the trailer in literally, what is it, like 6 hours, just about a little over 6 hours from now. So if you're watching us live, that is. Of course, if you're not watching us live, then you might have already seen the trailer, in which case go watch our live reaction to it, which we will be doing in the morning on the East Coast. John and I will wake up bright and early to do that. Actually, it's not 6 hours, it's 9 hours, because we're on the East Coast. So it's 9 a.m. Eastern time. Thinking about time. We will actually we will give you your time zone. I know we have a global audience here, so depending on where you are, we've got your time for you. So when you need to be up and about to watch the trailer. But James Gunn did promise that the songs in the movie are going to be more far and few and in between, and it's going to be more of a score-driven movie, unlike the Guardians franchise. So this is something we have sort of speculated in the past, but of course he's now said it more. It comes from the main man himself, and he describes it as there's nods to John Williams, and then also John Murphy's created this incredibly beautiful score. The one thing is, it is a score, it is not a soundtrack, so it's not about the songs. There's a few songs in it, and of course I chose those songs beforehand, but it isn't like any of my previous movies, really. The score is what drives it. It's a much more of a score film. We know that with the Guardians movies, each movie people look forward to the soundtrack because that's the precedence the first one set. So this, as far as James Gunn's superhero production product goes and output goes, even the Suicide Squad felt like there were more songs in it. It wasn't very driven by the soundtrack. So this will be different in that sense, and it's maybe the first time the mainstream audience is going to be watching a James Gunn movie that is score driven. So Liz, what do you think about that? Do you think James Gunn is capable of landing the plane per se with a score heavy production versus doing soundtracks?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
He has a great ear for music. He has a nice variety of music that he's into. We've seen it in Guardians, and we're seeing it now in Creature Commandos. I can't say enough about the soundtrack for Creature Commandos. So I think if, again, he doesn't do things by half. So if this is what he's saying that he wants to do, he's going to do it right. He's going to make sure that it is the best thing that he could ever possibly put together. So I have no doubt that he'll do it well, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, what we have gotten so far, like Jay's saying, is pretty good. It's pretty good. In fact, I can hear hints of not just John Williams, but also Hans Zimmer in it. And then when we watch the teaser later, I feel like the flying sequences really, they fly pretty close, pardon the pun, to what Man of Steel was like, except, of course, it's much more colorful and brighter, which is, again, Zack Snyder's, got his own tone for what he likes to do versus what James Gunn does. But anyway, we'll get into that when we get into the actual the teaser to the teaser trailer. But John, what are your thoughts on this? Do you trust in James Gunn to deliver a movie that is score driven versus soundtrack driven?
Yeah, I think as long as he gives that confirmation, I have faith in it, because I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, can he actually do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, he can, as long as he confirms it." Because it's like I like, as much as I like Gunn's use of songs and famous pop songs and all that stuff, like I like that, but as long as it fits the narrative. I don't think it would fit the narrative for a Superman movie. I think maybe a couple times, but not like that, And John Murphy is exceptionally talented. I do hope that, yeah, I think like reserve that kind of thing for Peacemaker. That's like James Gunn at his James Gunniest. So I think I feel like with Superman we're gonna get very much reserved James Gunn, or James Gunn is like stepping into a new direction, and I really like that. So yeah, I think that's gonna be. Oh, I am sorry.
All good, man. All right. Well,
I'm very tired, but yes, I think that's the way we're gonna be going. So
yeah, I'm looking for. I mean, look, we've got a very small hint. I want to see what other iconic pieces we get out of it, because, of course, we're gonna get the Superman theme. I'm wondering if there's gonna be like a Fortress of Solitude theme. Is Krypto gonna get his own theme? Is Lex Luthor gonna get his own theme? Because some of these characters will come back. I imagine Lex Luthor isn't just there for the one movie. So there's potentially a Terrifics theme, or the Lanterns. Like, maybe we get a hint at when Guy Gardner enters the scene, or if we get to see Maxwell Lord, or if there is a Justice Society or Justice League of some kind in the movie. What will all of that look like? Or sound like specifically? Hello to Retro at its gym. From India, all the way from India. Hey, global audience. Again, we love to have you guys here. Thanks, of course, for stopping by. These photos are from the press event on Monday. You can see David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan there, looking all nice and snazzy when they did the whole motion poster reveal. I just wanted to quickly kind of show that off, because I don't believe you really mentioned that here on the channel, because we of course were following all the stuff that James Gunn was putting out, but they did do a little press event, and the two main leads of the movie were there. So that was really nice. And then to kind of just quickly keep the ball rolling, I saw this online and was really, I thought because we have Lizz on today, we should kind of talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
It's kind of apples to oranges, so I don't know if we need to spend a ton of time on this, because the two movies are 16 years apart. Right. But what I do like is how clean and again, these are teaser posters, right, in a sense. So you're really just getting a sense of, like, you look at the Iron Man poster and you're like, okay, I know what I'm in for. It's gonna be rock. It's gonna be just metal, and it's freaking Robert Downey Jr. It's gonna look cool. And on the right side, you're looking at it's the True Justice and the American Way, or what's the current version that DC has. But basically, Superman and all the colors, and hope and wonder and all that. So they feel very essential to the core of the characters in these movies, at least. For the Superman movie, we don't know quite yet. We've seen Iron Man many a times. What do you think about this, Lizz? Just a comparison, because on the right side you have what is the first movie in the brand new DCU. On the left side you have the very first movie from the MCU. Of course, the MCU has been around a lot longer at this point. The DCU does get a fresh start. So what are your thoughts on the two?
No, I love them. I love it. I think it's great. I think both do a really good job of showing you the main character but not giving anything away. I think it's awesome. It's very, like you said, very clean. looks really good, definitely grabs your attention. Still to this day, my favorite movie posters are for Batman versus Superman, but unfortunately the posters were the best thing about that film. So
I liked it. I liked the movie. I mean, the posters were great though. John mentioned it the other day as well. Caleb was like, "And James Gunn, please give me Starman and Superman." He said he's not gonna do Starman, but you know what? I was telling you everybody before the show started. He didn't say anything about Rocket Man, so I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't.
I don't think that fits.
Yeah, but by the way, Lenny's in the chat. Hello, Lenny, and she's saying like it is a better, so it's Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow, which does make sense because again, James Gunn wants the DCU to have a global appeal, and in light of recent events in the United States of America, let's call it that. Are we calling it that? Are we calling it the United States of America? So it's probably better to go with a better tomorrow than the American way. But anyway, I don't know why I said that in a British accent. That's so weird. But Mr. Terrific, Jay, yes, I do believe Mr. Terrific should have his own theme, especially because James Gunn said that Mr. Terrific will have a significant role in the movie. We will talk about that in a second. But before we get to that, since we're talking about the teaser trailer, and today, of course, we got the first look at the teaser trailer. We got like a 30-second version. You might be wondering, well, I mean, we were questioning how long is this teaser trailer going to be. The teaser to the teaser trailer was 30 seconds. So now we know that what we're going to be watching in less than 9 hours time is going to be, or pretty much exactly 9 hours from now, literally to the moment of when I'm looking at my clock, 9 hours from now, it's going to be 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. Now, we talked about earlier that the 28 years later teaser trailer came out recently, and that was like 2 minutes. We have seen like the Captain America 4 teaser trailer was like 2 minutes. The Thunderbolts first look was 2 minutes. Nowadays, it's not that the first teaser trailer needs to be a 30-second quick look. It's more meant to be like it will give you all the visuals and the hints at what this movie is gonna feel like. But really, the teaser trailer it's not a story trailer. That's what differentiates a teaser trailer from like the first proper trailer where you get to find out, oh, Lex is up to no good and Superman's gonna stop Lex Luthor and Lois is there. Like, we didn't get any of that from the teaser to the teaser trailer, and I feel like we're not gonna get that from the actual teaser trailer either. But what do you guys think about 2 minutes 20 seconds? Do you feel like they're giving too much away too fast, or do you think that is just the right amount considering how other recent teaser trailers, how long those have been? I'll start. John, you can start there.
I think like as long as you don't show too much, you should be okay. I feel like now, I think it's just nowadays trailers are just a progression of how much they'll show. And that's kind of what it is. Whoa. Like 20, I could probably name 20 off the top of my head that are like
I like it. I don't know if it's the best comic book movie ever retro, but I personally really like the Ultimate Edition. But anyway, John, go ahead.
But yeah, I think it's just a progression of showing more and more. But like, I feel like 2 minutes 20 seconds, maybe it's a little bit much. I would prefer like a teaser be like at the very least like at the very most like 90 to 100 seconds, like minute 30, minute 40. But I don't think 2 minutes 20 seconds is going to be too bad if this is true. That is, I don't know if this is like actually an official thing or
I think this is actually from one of the theater chains, because you know how you can go in and see what the trailer like file like what it would look. It is from.
I mean, one it's of the BBFC UK. So
Lenny's gonna come for you. You better watch your mouth. I'm just saying. But BBS is gangster, Antonio. Don't insult the British. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway.
What? No, it's it's literally. I'm talking about the source. bbfc.co.uk/release. Like, that's literally the source. What are you talking about? I'm so confused.
It's .co.uk. Never mind. We're just gonna keep the ball rolling. John is a bit tired, and I'm not gonna pick a fight.
I just said BBFC.
But there you go, Hunter. Like... You found the beef. The beef is here. It's on the show. Liz, I wanted to ask you: are you gonna be awake in the morning when this trailer comes out? Because for us, folks who are on, what you can see here is Miami time on this particular graphic. It's gonna be 9 a.m. Eastern time. For those or New York time, I suppose as well, or Toronto time, depending on it's all on the East Coast. But if you happen to be in Vancouver, it may be a little bit earlier for you or LA on the West Coast. If you're in London, Lenny, I don't know if you're in London proper, but if you are generally in the UK, 2 p.m. in the afternoon for you. If you happen to be watching from India, like we have, Retro Fitz Gems. Retrofits Gem. Sorry, I was trying to get your name right. You can probably see it at 7:30 p.m. your time, and also if you're over where I'm from, I was born in Karachi. It's also 7:30 over there in the evening. So depending on where you are, this might be a prime time release, or it would be the first thing you see in the morning. Are you gonna be up to see it in the morning, Liz? Is this?
I will just be getting into bed at that time, so I'll probably watch it on my phone, under my covers, curled up with my cats. That'll probably be the very last thing I see before I drift off to Dreamland tomorrow. So yeah, I'll be watching it for sure.
Yeah. Well, and John, what about you? Are you gonna be able to wake up in time to see it?
Oh,
are we doing a live watch along for this?
He's just not sleeping. He's just.
Okay, I'm not that insane. We just gotta finish this fucking stream up, and then I'll maybe actually get some fucking sleep. But
Lenny's like 2 p.m. Yes, I'm aware. Well, thank you, Lenny. I just want to remind you, just letting you know. And then Retro Edits Jim says he's from New Delhi, and it says 7:03 p.m. Okay, well, I mean, it will vary a little bit, I'm sure, because all the regional accounts for the Warner Brothers and DC Studios will probably release it maybe slightly offset. But in general, I feel like it's going to release for everybody at the same time. But I think it's perfect because that means literally the whole news cycle for the day is going to revolve around this. I don't think there's any other piece of news tomorrow coming out of Hollywood that's going to be bigger than this teaser trailer. And especially considering how much the hype machine has been built up around this, because this video was part of, the package that we got from James Gunn this morning.
They're going to break the internet.
Where he was like,
"Yeah, Caleb already said they're going to break the internet."
They're trying to, but you know what though? I will say this. I'll take a moment here to compliment them. Okay, Lenny, Dan, that was the most stupid question ever. Is John gonna watch it? Does America suck at football? Yes. I don't know.
It depends.
I don't know, man. It depends on what football you're talking about, Lenny.
Are you talking about the one where they actually use their feet, or are you talking about American football?
Or are you talking about the one, where they actually use their feet, but only, sometimes, but like most of the time they just use their hands. But anyway, because we do come and play in the UK. Like, I don't know if you've been to an NFL game. It's kind of fun. I was at an NFL
they're
game.
Trying to expand, have like 56 teams or something.
50. Are they gonna add like a London team?
Yeah, they're trying to add, like, I saw this map. I don't know how right or wrong this is, but like they're trying to like introduce teams in like the UK, in Hawaii, in like more in Canada, and like all this other shit. And it's like, why? What are you doing?
It's like, before we corrected Lenny, which, I mean, I'm not saying I'm correcting you, Lenny. I personally love football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, but TC24 was like, I'm sure you mean soccer, Lenny, right? I used to live in Manchester, UK, so like I'm a Manchester United fan. But one of my day jobs is
you're not a mank, you're a wank.
Working for the folks that produce the Champions League shows with Thierry Henry and all those like Micah Richards and Jamie Carragher, which I'm sure, Lenny, if you're a fan of football, like, and the one you actually play with your feet. But anyway, back to James Gunn. Superman, from one Superman fan to another. This video is basically just him telling you the timeline. He's like, okay, this is when you can watch the trailer. This is when it's coming out. Be sure to check it out. It's gonna be great, and you should totally enjoy it. That was it. And I don't know why he put this video out in addition to the actual teaser trailer. And to me, Liz, I agree with you that this feels like a little too much. But at the same time, it's one of those things where when it comes to advertising, it's like you have to kind of like put a message in front of people 10 times for them to notice it once. So I feel like maybe that's the the philosophy here? Like, do you feel like they're overdoing it at this point, or do you feel like this is exactly what's needed for them to launch this new cinematic universe?
I've been saying this about James Gunn. He's doing too much. He needs to pump the brakes. I'm hoping that he'll give himself a break after this teaser trailer comes out, but then we still need the first trailer. Then there's going to ultimately be a second trailer, and then all the friggin' press that's going to come along with that. So unfortunately, I think he's probably going to have a brain aneurysm around June or July, which will hopefully get him to take a break. But no, it's not going to slow down. It's not going to calm down. The hype train is going to be bigger than ever. People are going to speculate based on the little bits of things that they see throughout the teaser trailer. There's going to be a whole new range of things. There's going to be a whole new range of death threats from the freaking Snyderverse.
There's going to be a whole new world.
Yeah, it's going to be bananagrams, and it's going to give us plenty of stuff to talk about every freaking day. So there's that.
Lizz is made of salt. She was born from the salt. She was molded by it. She didn't even see sugar until she became a woman. So,
until I was but a woman. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, let's continue on the conversation with. I've been mentioning that James Gunn let a bunch of journalists like onto the set of Superman in Cleveland, and then he told them, "Do not talk about this until I tell you you can." And it seems like today was the day that or yesterday, I guess, if you're going by Eastern time now, when that embargo lifted. So we got a bunch more details that all of these folks who got to visit the set, which, great privilege to have. They were able to glean a few more details about what Superman is gonna feature. So bullet point format, let's kind of quickly go through some of the basics. It looks like Superman is gonna start in the middle of the action, as in they're not gonna like pick up with Clark is going to school when he's a young boy. No, they're going to pick up with some kind of big action sequence, which seems like that's pretty much what they were filming in Cleveland throughout the summer. And it was like they kept telling the extras, look up in the sky as if some big rampaging monster is coming down to kill everybody. And so that's what they kept telling the extras they were running away from, and all, what they were looking up at into the, in addition to maybe Superman as well. And we saw a little bit of that in the teaser that we will get into in a second. But then, of course, it's also something to be speculated that Lois and Clark are going to already know each other. That was something James Gunn even hinted at before, but now we know that, according to James Gunn, that is going to be the case. Although the relationship between them is going to be not necessarily the most traditional iteration of that, like where they just they just are a couple already. It's going to be a little more. It's not also going to be the same thing as what we saw, them meeting for the first time in the original Superman movie in 1978. It seems like they already have a pre-existing relationship, but maybe it's not a romantic relationship just yet. So at least that's the impression I got from what James Gunn said. And then when it comes to Lex Luthor, it looks like he already has a hate boner, as John would say, for Superman. What drives that? I don't know. Maybe according to James Gunn, he just hates Superman's guts, which, okay, fair enough. Maybe you should take one of those hard candies and shove it in Superman's mouth, like Jesse Eisenberg did to that senator in BVS. Take a chill pill, he should tell him to do. Flying action is shot with drones. Maybe that's the stuff that they were doing over New Jersey.
Maybe
that must be what it is.
It's marketing.
It's inspired by Top Gun Maverick, though.
Eventually they're all going to turn blue.
Dan, where's the aviators?
I'm literally reaching for those right now. But it's just, I feel like that's more of a marketing swing. Oh my God, we shot it like Top Gun Maverick. But I'm like, what did you do? Go up in fighter jets and shoot Superman flying? No, you didn't. When people asked him to provide more detail, he was just like, oh yeah, we just shot using some of the same camera technology they use for Top Gun Maverick to shoot Superman in studio, maybe on a pitchfork, when he's doing those flying sequences. But anyway, that's part of it.
Actually, David Cornsweet actually got the ability to fly because he's so goated and is so just the perfect personification of the character. So he just got the ability to fly for the set, for the film. So they just filmed him flying, just like they filmed Tom Cruise flying in Top Gun Maverick. So that's what I think.
I do remember Tom Cruise flying. He was in the air by himself, with one hand.
That really was him doing those things.
That was him.
And that's fine. Let him. That should be the only thing he ever does ever. So let him stay up there. That's fine.
By the way, the other big thing that James Gunn did mention is that he's not aiming to set up a bunch of other projects with this. He was just like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna focus on this movie. Maybe there's one or two minor things." But you remember one of the biggest criticisms of BVS was that they were trying to really jump the gun and set up a whole cinematic universe with one movie by introducing Wonder Woman and Batman, and then bringing in Doomsday, and then pitching like basically the whole reason why the first Suicide Squad movie came into existence. All of that stuff was in the first, in basically the second movie, and then they stuck in all those extra Easter eggs in Man of Steel with like the Vane satellite, which quite frankly I didn't even see that when I saw the movie in theaters. I was like, wait, what? There was a Wayne satellite in that movie, and then when I got home, like the internet was like, oh, there's an Easter egg. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna stop doing that. Mr. Terrific apparently has a big role in this film, and we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
What do you
that
think
makes
like
sense.
that means? Like, do you think that means he's gonna be a featured character, or he still has
I
like
think
5 or 6 scenes?
I think I remember talking about this. How just by looking at it, I feel like we're getting like a amalgamation of the Terrifics and Justice League International, and that's going to be like a proto kind of Justice League. Maybe even a little bit of like the Authority can be like shown in there as well. I don't know if like the Authority is established yet or not, or I don't know, who knows. But I mean, with how much we saw of Mr. Terrific, because look, we saw a lot of Superman, obviously, title of the fucking movie. So we have him, but there was a lot of Mr. Terrific in the movie. We saw a lot. Ew, no. No.
John Lilly just grunted at the comparison.
No, but insert the clip. I'll let you do it before I continue. So just do it before. Just.
I don't have friends. I got family.
That's the best. That's the best.
I'm Vin Diesel if I didn't beat the shit out of women. Anyway, so when it comes to Mr. Terrific, I did when we saw a lot of him. Meanwhile, we only saw like one scene of Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and assumed to be Metamorpho. Maybe we didn't even see him, but like maybe there was a possibility we missed him, but I don't know. Meanwhile, we saw a lot of Mr. Terrific. We saw the scene of like him and Soups. We saw him like, there was the scene where everyone thought it was Crypto. We didn't, and then it turned out to be Crypto. So like with him and the dog treats, we saw a bunch of scenes of Mr. Terrific. So I feel like Mr. Terrific is going to kind of tie into the themes of the movie, where if it is true that like Superman is like going to be like the out of his prime character, and he's going to be like, oh, he's going to be the only tried and true good hero while everyone else is an asshole. I feel like Mr. Terrific kind of rides that line a bit, the Michael Holt version that they're using, because I don't think he's not like a bad guy, but he's not like, but he also kind of has that Reed Richards kind of vibe where he's a much better character than Reed Richards in terms of moral compass and not a total fucking asshole. But like Mr. Terrific is like more of like a decent guy and more of a hero. So I feel like he would kind of see through Superman. Like, I think he's like, we're going to see through him. Like he's going to be like the only other hero that's going to be, truly like relating to Superman, because Guy Gardner, he's an asshole. Hawkgirl, she's, depending on who they go with, I know it's specifically the Kendra Saunders version, but I think they're going to kind of go with like the Justice League version, where she's a very much a headstrong soldier kind of. I think we're going to get that kind of vibe of like the super duper tough, like no business bullshit kind of Hawkgirl. So there's that. And then, which might lead into the fact she might be the Swift character. They're going to just not have Swift and use her for the Authority movie. And then you have Metamorpho, who's like not necessarily an asshole or anything. He's just kind of, rough around the edges, kind of no bullshit. So they're all kind of like rougher heroes. Well, Mr. Terrific is like the closest to being like a genuine tried and true kind of guy. And so I feel like like Superman and him are going to kind of see eye to eye more and more as the movie goes on. What the fuck is happening in these comments? Like, I haven't been paying attention. Like, but yeah, that's and it makes sense that he would have a bigger role than all the other heroes in the film. So
Yeah.
I'm not free. It's Christmas. Why the fuck would I be free?
I don't know. Yeah, the chat's been busy talking about Shazam.
Yeah, it's been a lot of Zachary Levi chat. Yeah.
God. Oh, John, that is a hot take. She will be Swift. Okay, well, Lenny, I don't know if she agrees with you or not. But a couple of other things about what James Gunn said. He did mention that the take on Superman in this movie is going to be a little bit different than what we have gone before, in the sense that the way James Gunn believes in the idea of Superman is more to do with, it's not like he's more Clark Kent or more Superman. You need to know both sides of him to know who he is as a person, which we talk about all the time. Is Bruce Wayne the mask, and Batman is the real part of that character. And with Superman, we are like, okay, well, is Clark Kent when he puts on a facade to the world, and then Superman is really who he's Kal-El, where is that? And the way James Gunn described it is, when they know both of him, they know the real guy, and that means not too many people, which means that there may be a lot of people out there, and maybe he's even hinting at that. Maybe at this point in time when this movie takes place, Lois Lane herself may not know both parts of the man. She may know more of the Superman than the Clark Kent part of it, and yet she may still not know maybe the Kal-El part of it as either. So, which does lead you to believe, okay, so when it comes to his absolute innermost circle, for Kal-El, it's probably just his parents, right? Like his Earth parents, and then because even his Kryptonian parents didn't get to know the adult version of him. So,
I love this so much because I mean it's just the perfect sort of thing. Ironically, going back to I think it was the John Byrne run, which is what ironically David S. Goyer was inspired by for Man of Steel. Which isn't I mean, I haven't read it, so I only read the first couple of issues for Man of Steel, the mini series that introduced the John Byrne run. Okay, just stop naming bald people, goddamn. So, and that's where I think it was really introduced that I think that's where the line that came from is Clark is who I am, Superman is what I do. And that's what I like about my Superman. And that was also used in Lois and Clark, where, there was the episode, I think they go back in time or something, and, very ridiculous show, and Lois Lane figures out that he's Superman, and then time travel shenanigans, she of course forgets, as, of course, but she figures out he's no, she's you're Superman, of course he's no, Superman is what I do, Clark is who I am, that's what it is. Clark isn't some disguise. Unfortunately, that's what Bill from Kill Bill thinks, right. But it was a bullshit fucking take, and he's an idiot. And I think that was the point. So I'm obviously there's so many comics and runs and ages of comics that you could pick any one to fit into whatever view of Superman you want, and pretty much all of them would be correct. But the one I like the most is Superman is just a wholesome guy trying to do the best he can, and Superman is just this being that can do these things to help people, while Clark, he might be kind of a weird guy and kind of maybe a little corny, maybe a little bit of a weirdo, but that's truly who he is, because that's how he grew up most of his life. It depends when he actually got his powers, because it changes per incarnation,
right?
But he sees himself as human. That was the whole thing. He sees himself as just a guy. He's just I'm a human that just so happened to have these powers. Yes, I am from Krypton. This is where I come from, but that's not really who I view myself as. So I think that Gunn having said that, I think that's a really great thing to really go in that direction, because that's what I would like to see. I know that not everyone would like to see that, and that's fine, but that's what I would love to see, and I'm excited for that aspect that we're going to see in this film. So a little filibuster, I apologize, but I really like that he confirmed that's he's that's not how I view Superman, this is how I view Superman. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
What?
The chat is just unhinged.
Is this like getting horny, or is this just like
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it was meant to be a spit take. But anyway, Liz, I have a question for you. So chemistry tests are something that are obviously part of the casting process. We know James Gunn has talked about like the lanterns process. We're gonna get into that later in the week as the Superman news hopefully doesn't tie up all of our time, because he's been talking about how Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre just blew him away in their screen test together. Similarly, both David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan's audition tapes arrived apparently on the first day of the initial casting process for James Gunn, and he said, I saw both of those and I went, oh my god, we're going to be okay. And their chemistry test proved pretty decisive, because James Gunn then went on to say, we had this 15-minute long scene that they have to act together and talk and discuss and just communicate, and I mixed and matched all the different couples, and it was simple magic when the two of them came up. So it looks like they went through the thorough process, and the two between Cornsweet and Brosnahan just were a perfect match. How much do you think the success of Superman as a movie relies on the chemistry of Clark Kent and Lois Lane?
Oh, 100%. It's a tried and true relationship. It's what everybody knows. You can't have Clark Kent without his Lois Lane, and vice versa. And Rachel has chemistry with a refrigerator, for God's sake. She's just unbelievable. Anybody you put her in front of, she's going to have chemistry with. So I'm really excited to see her in this film, to see her doing something different. And hopefully we get her for a couple films, because she's just a dynamo. I mean, perfect example right now. We talked about it the other day. The film Baby Girl that's coming out, the trailer for that. I don't believe for a second that those two characters, they don't have chemistry at all. Again, I also refer to Tom Cruise, how he needs to just stick to action movies, because I don't believe him as a romantic lead whatsoever either. So it's that's what we're talking about. It's that believability factor. And if Rachel's a part of it, you believe it all day that she is in love with whomever, because she's something special. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a big part of the success of the movie is what that relationship looks like, especially because James Gunn has mentioned really the three main characters of this movie are Clark Kent, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor. So like, if you need to have good chemistry between them, obviously the antagonistic relationship between Superman and Lex Luthor is going to form a big part of that, triad. But you definitely want to make sure that the Lois Lane and Clark Kent dynamic is as good as it can get. Now, James Gunn did also talk about why he removed the word legacy from the Superman title. This has come up before, because he just felt like he said that it was just felt like it was essentially Superman. But here he's being quick, because I thought that was a very markety answer back in the day when this was in February before they went into production.
Back in the day.
Back in the day,
like
dude,
9 months
time
ago.
moves so fast, and like it feels like forever when you're on 5 days a week. It's crazy. But anyway, I think today gave a much more down to earth, practical response, which I'm like, tell us how you really feel kind of response. And he said, I thought maybe the title was, they had a looking back feeling about it, which makes sense. Like Superman Legacy would have felt like, okay, it's harkening back to the good old days, and it's meant to. It would have felt like another Superman Returns sort of a title. I think he said rightfully so. And this isn't about looking back. This is about looking forward. So I think from that perspective alone, it's a good decision that they should just call it Superman, and for this first new movie in this new cinematic universe to be just Superman, because even the movie in 1978 was Superman the movie. So technically we haven't gotten a Superman movie that is simply called Superman. And if that is, an essential, iconic, take on the character, then that obviously sets a very solid foundation for the rest of the cinematic universe to go from here. That's, I think, one of the reasons why Man of Steel was titled Man of Steel, was they wanted to kind of make it feel like it was very essential to who the character is.
And The Dark Knight did really well, so might as well include the ultimate.
That was definitely part of it. Well, I mean, Christopher Nolan and David Goyer were both involved in both projects. Like,
so, it's like, it was called Man of Steel because of this. It was called Man of Steel because Dark Knight did really well. So that's why it was called Man of Steel.
That's your, why don't you tell us how it really is answer to that. But anyway, what do you think, John? Do you think this is obviously a good reason for doing that? Like the idea that this is meant to be a movie that helps you look forward rather than look backward to what came before.
I like that. Because it would have been, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
Superman Legacy was kind of a weird title, but it was a good differentiation title because people don't call the 1978 movie Superman the movie. They call it Superman.
They call it Superman. Exactly.
So, you know,
the marquee
there is going to
said
be
Superman.
so it's like so I prefer a subtitle for differentiation, like Superman, like just like a Superman and then one other word, like legacy, like because I think about like, oh, Superman, the last son of Krypton, that's too long of a title. So because then people are just going to call it Superman. So I think there should have been Superman and then versus Lex Luthor, whatever the fuck, just like a generic title, just to differentiate, because nobody really calls 1978 Superman the movie. They call it Superman. So
take that off the screen, Dan. That's not what I said. Y'all know that's not what I said. The absolute opposite of what I said.
But even then, like, we're just gonna call it Superman 2025 or Gunn Superman. I mean, there's so many like requels and remakes that's like, okay, we'll just have to do this again, because it's but I like his reasoning, because even though the film, as that journalist said, it is about legacy, like it is like that's a major legacy of Krypton, legacy of like the father and the son. We knew that was going to be the case, because, you know, he put a lot of like tragedy into this as well, because he lost his father, and the film is coming out on his birthday, his father's birthday, who passed away, I think last year, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. So I think that I think just keep it an idea rather than the title, you know? Like, I think it should have been called like James Gunn's Superman, or like kind of like a John Carpenter's Halloween. Yeah, it isn't called that, but it's could be used to differentiate. So yeah, that's the only major thing I think.
Yeah, because legacy implies a continuation of a story, and James keeps talking about how this is a new chapter, this is a brand new story. He's not going to give us the same story that we're used to, even though we do have the same characters.
What am I wrong about? That's what?
I don't know. Well, I don't know, Lenny. You can explain in the chat, but I agree with you, Liz, that calling it Superman.
I'm confused. What am I wrong about? Tell me what I'm wrong about.
Lenny. I don't know, man. Like, maybe Lenny will tell you in the chat. I'm just saying I agree that.
Jesse, what the hell are you talking about?
Elite Easy is like Tyler Perry's Superman. Maybe we'll get that one day. Maybe.
Oh God, please.
TC24 is like, Lenny shooting at you, John. Take cover.
What your current? Do you like disagree with my thoughts on like having a subtitle? Like, I mean, I can understand that, but I think
I personally hate movie titles with subtitles. I'd much rather be like Iron Man 2 than Captain America Civil War.
No,
like in that sense, it's
I 100% agree. But the thing is, there's also like. We got a different Superman 2025, James Gunn Superman, all that. Would I prefer Superman, just plain old Superman? Yes. Like, for instance, the Rocky series until Rocky Balboa was perfect, because you had Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. Boom, 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 boom. That is how you do, like, because I hate the
we had that with Christopher Reeve Superman too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last one had a subtitle, but even then, like, I like, you know, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4. So I like that. I prefer Superman for Good. Yeah.
That's still better than
honestly, that works better for Superman than it does for Wicked. Superman for Good, it works better.
So much better.
Like,
yeah.
Not gonna lie. But
they should do that just to troll Wicked's marketing. That would be freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah,
but I think I'm just talking about a subtitle to differentiate, because there's been another Superman movie. So that's the only thing I'm saying. Like, but Dan, I fully agree with you. Fuck subtitles for sequels, because that's bullshit. Like, I hate like both subtitles, and I hate when requels, specifically not a remake, a requel shares the same title as the original. Like Halloween, like Scream, even though it was Halloween 2018 and Scream 5. So, yeah, boom. There you go. Superman A Better Tomorrow. That's literally the point that James Gunn's trying to make. Even though I hate The Better Tomorrow and I prefer The American Way, I would say that's a good title.
He's not American, technically. He's not American. He just happened to land in America.
For example, look, here's the thing. This is where we have to think about a little bit more of the practicality of how Hollywood works. from a marketing standpoint, like for example, we know that the BVS title was dumb. Like I to this day think like Batman v Superman though, and they called it fucking We Dot Superman as if it was a court case. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It was a dumb title, and I don't know Zack Snyder wasn't in favor of it, but he was like marketing guys were like, this is the way you need to do it because we need to put Batman and Superman in the title because I don't know, like the poster doesn't already show them for whatever reason. But that's really where that comes from is usually the marketing departments of these studios, the ones who are in charge of distributing the film. They're like, we need the title to be like that something that recognizable. Where if they just said Man of Tomorrow was the sequel title to Superman, there's a lot of people out there who'd be like, wait, what is Man of Tomorrow? Whereas if it was Superman Man of Tomorrow, they're like, oh, that's a Superman
Man of
movie.
Tomorrow is another
sequel.
good one.
That's really the reason why it becomes like those :XYZ titles, the subtitle idea. But honestly, I feel like it's a little creatively bankrupt. But it goes back, it's as old as time. Like even like Star Wars. After the first one, he was like Star Wars Chapter 5, or like Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, and it just so it's it's a tale as old as Hollywood essentially. But I personally, if I had my pick in an ideal world, if he didn't have to market the movie to the average moviegoer who isn't following a show like ours where we're talking about this every day. Yeah, you would just do Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow, and like whatever else comes after, like Legacy of Clark Kent or something like that. But yes, the marketing is what usually drives the title. But it's good that it's just Superman to start things off, because that does again set the foundation, and then you kind of build it on top of that later on. And hopefully they'll get more creative with the titles of the movies. But yeah, we got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, so we know we're getting at least one of those titles, even though they could have just called it Supergirl. But since they're really adapting.
There was also the actual Supergirl from 1983.
That's true. I don't know if they called it Supergirl the movie or just Supergirl. So maybe
no, it was just Supergirl.
So, just Supergirl, yeah. Well, okay. So one of the other things, we talked about the triad of characters that are leading this movie includes Lex Luthor, in addition to Lois Lane and Clark Kent. So James Gunn has been talking about how he's a scientist, but he's so good at science, and he basically thinks of him as a sorcerer. Do you think he's being literal about this? Because I feel like Jesse Eisenberg's, Lex Luthor was pretty next level douchebag. The dude killed his own assistant by blowing up the Capitol and then shaved his head bald. I mean, well, actually, the prison guards did that. But anyway, like that was a pretty unhinged Lex Luthor. Do you feel like that's what's being implied here? That this Nicholas Holt's version of Lex Luthor is also such a brilliant genius that he can like make people hate Superman, like what Jesse Eisenberg's character tried to do?
Well, let's go back to Clark's Law. Arthur C. Clarke, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So I think that's what he's trying to say. Like he's so advanced and above everyone else. He's so much smarter than everyone else.
Invoked that. That's great.
I mean, come on. It was used in Doctor Who. Of course I'm gonna say a third Doctor. Hello. But yeah, that's what they're playing. Because I mean, ew. What the fuck are you talking
Caleb
about?
is just on a tilt right now. Anyway,
so yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do. Because I mean, Lex Luthor notoriously hates magic because he can't control it. Like he needs to be in control. Science and programming and engineering, he can control. Science, he can, because that's what essentially science is, and like computers and that kind of thing. It's so much about control and so much about like people joke like programming is frustrating. It's just a machine doing what you told it to do.
Right.
So
I mean, unless it's artificial intelligence.
But like that's let's not get into that. But I'm just talking about like just from that point of view. So that's what I think it is. It's not like he's gonna be like fucking Felix Faust or something, and like he's gonna be a fucking no. It's just that he's so advanced and the technology he's using is so advanced that he's gonna seem like this like grand being when he really isn't. So, and I really like that because it brings out the more like out of time element that I want to see from the DCU. And what I like about DC, I like the idea of like these places not being and feeling real from a setting and a tone point of view. Like Metropolis oh, it's just New York. No, I don't want it to just be New York. I like the Art Deco vibe they're going for, how it's like in Delaware. Like, I like how it's just kind of, just like a place out of time. That's what I want. Like all the cities in like Metropolis, like Gotham, like Midway City, Opal City, Fawcett City, all that stuff.
Even like the Fortress of Solitude, instead of being an alien ship, it's sort of maybe halfway between the alien ship that we got in Man of Steel and the crystalline structures from the OG.
I hope it's not a crystalline structure, because that's just, I feel like we've seen
what the
that so
leak
many
implied,
times.
but I hope that's not it. Like I'm kind of like, I don't know, that doesn't fit the vibe.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I would like to, I like how, it's like kind of seeming like out of time, and like like, sure, we have all this like setting stuff, but then we also have Lex Luthor just like having this technology that does not fit in 2020 at this point. What would be 2025? It feels like 2125, and I really like that. And it showcases the smarts of Lex Luthor, not in a puppet master kind of way like the Eisenberg version was, but in a, I am smarter than everybody else. I'm going to make sure that everyone knows it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm the man of tomorrow, not this fucker in blue tights. That's the Lex Luthor I want to see, and I think Nicholas Hoult will most definitely give that to us, and I'm more than excited for his portrayal.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be, I mean, this looks like it could be his yearbook photo. The man was just always a bit deranged.
He looks like fucking Pyle in Full Metal Jacket.
Yep. I agree with you, Jay, by the way. But yeah, no, I mean, hey, look, it sounds like this Lex Luthor is going to hopefully be a different take on the character than what we have seen in the years past. We went from like a few different extremes. I think we had what I felt were very tame versions in the original Superman movies. Certainly the Superman Returns, like real state, seriously, bro. But then we got basically Mark Zuckerberg being played by Jesse Eisenberg in BVS, and now we're getting what feels a little more essential comic book. Now let's continue on here. We talked about the Force of Solitude briefly. Oh, what the heck is that? Threads is freaking out on me. Get out of here. All right, Top Gun Maverick. This is something I brought up earlier, but the whole idea that they're doing these aerial action sequences that are inspired by Top Gun Maverick, I wonder if it feels like a very surface level. It's more just like name drop a movie that is really big, so therefore, like, people will be like, oh my god, it's gonna look like Top Gun Maverick. I'm just like, let's wait and see what it actually looks like. But hey, we're gonna look at the teaser trailer in a second. The teaser to the teaser trailer, and there are a couple of
Dan's
shots of
like,
Superman
you don't
flying.
get to use Top Gun Maverick's name in vain.
It's a high bar. It's a high bar. That's all I'm saying. But what I do like about the movie, that the way James Gunn describes it, he says that Superman already exists. Lois and Clark already know each other. Lex hates Superman's guts from the beginning, although they don't know each other personally. So it looks like Lex probably doesn't know Clark Kent or who Superman is, but he just hates the idea of this, all powerful being. What I do like about this is, again, it's sort of like a year two Superman. We're not getting a total origin story. I just hope that after the first movie comes out, James Gunn isn't sitting there 2026 like still waiting to submit the script of the second movie to himself. But hey, punk rock. That seems to be the description of what this trailer is gonna be.
It's so Clark Kent. It's so cheesy. I love it. Just like, hey.
I'm wondering if it is going for a punk rock feel. Do you feel like we're gonna get some kind of a song in the trailer? Because a lot of trailers do that. Or do you feel like we're just gonna get more of the score from the movie, like what we got in the teaser of, and even the poster that we got, the motion poster? What do you think, Liz? Are you looking forward to some kind of punk rock soundtrack, or are you looking for more of the score of the movie in the teaser trailer?
I mean, again, he was talking about how this it was going to be a score and not a soundtrack. So I don't see that happening. I think people are getting a little excited here and going ahead and referring to a Superman teaser trailer as punk rock. I think it's a little extreme. Let's everybody pump the brakes and just settle down now. I think it's going to be great for sure, but I don't know. I mean, again, like Peacemaker is kind of punk rock, Creature Commandos is kind of punk rock. I don't see this having the same vibe.
Fair. By the way, Elite Easy, don't get on my bad side. Come on now. John, what do you think? Punk rock, what does that mean to you?
I think he's just talking about the trailer, like to get kind of people pumped. I think that's mainly the vibe we're getting. I don't think we're actually gonna be getting like, Sex Pistols in the trailer or anything like that. I think it's just like kind of the vibe of I could see it as like Superman kind of being the outsider, which is kind of like a punk rock feel. Like punks are usually like the outside ne'er-do-wells of society. And since in this case, this society views Superman as, oh, his kindness is bullshit, he's kind of that outsider, while society is kind of the degenerates, and they don't want to believe that they're the anti-hero dark people. So I feel like that could be described as sort of like a punk rock thing, where it's just Superman being the outsider, and he's kind of a punk in the eyes of, in like a societal point of view. Maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but like it could entirely be that. I don't think it's actually like literally punk rock. So
Yeah. I do think
are you
it's
telling
more
me to
of a,
shut up? Who's fucking telling me to shut up?
Caleb was. You should hash this out in the chat. But no, I think the punk rock is probably more of a reference to the theme and the impression you're meant to get from the trailer than like actually a song in the trailer. But that's fair. Now, we did mention this earlier that James Gunn was talking about how much setup Superman is gonna do for the other movies and projects coming up in the DCU, and he said basically was like, no, zero. He was like, let me clarify. We're not gonna have a Wayne Enterprise satellite in the middle of the sky, or a tanker with Lex Luthor's logo. I mean, we're gonna have all of those things, but it's not gonna introduce Wonder Woman and then completely take the Batman v Superman fight and make it like not the final fight of the movie, just so that we can introduce Doomsday and Wonder Woman and kill Superman at the end of the movie. No, I mean maybe two little things, two moments, a couple little things here and there, but that is never, ever, ever with James Gunn going to be something that is good. He's not going to sacrifice even a moment or a beat in the story for, especially a movie, to help set up something that's to come after. So to me, that means maybe we get a cameo from Supergirl, like Kara Zor-El, or maybe we get like a hint at the Authority with the engineer being a part of the movie. But it seems like by and large, this movie will be pretty self-encapsulated. And Liz, do you feel like that is for the better? Because I do remember, like we were comparing earlier, the posters for Iron Man and Superman. And I remember watching the first Iron Man movie, and if that's the only MCU movie I ever saw, outside of the scene at the very end where Nick Fury is like, you're part of a bigger world, or I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, the rest of the Iron Man movie doesn't really set up anything else in the MCU. Like, do you think that's a good thing that this is James Gunn's approach, or would you rather have more connections to what's to come in the DCU?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's important that they start off strong and not kind of lead the conversation into other directions. Let's everybody focus on this film and this film alone, and not speculate about what else is going to be coming down the pipeline, because he's already revealed so much anyway. We know we're getting a Supergirl movie. We know we're getting Lanterns. We know we're getting some other projects. So let's just stick to it and keep the conversation on this one film. And then we'll worry about what else is to come and how it connects back, if it ever does. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, that's fair. By the way, we've got a ton of people in the chat right now. Thanks so much to everybody who's joining us. If you are new, then hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. We've got Ghoul? Like a ghost?
I wish I could be here tomorrow after
ch-
you guys all see the teaser trailer. I mean,
we got more cat
is
in the
gonna go
chat.
off tomorrow. Oh my god.
It's gonna go off.
It's gonna be wild tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to be at my JOB.
It's totally cool. We're gonna have you on later though, Liz. Like I'm sure we can then talk about it in more in depth. I'm sure there'll be more news to come after the trailer drops. But in case you guys are watching for the first time, the trailer. I mean, one of you guys was asking in the chat. Ghoul was asking when the trailer drops. Let me quickly go back to this graphic that we had earlier. Not that graphic. Over here. Don't go into my DMs. Get out of here. That's personal private information. But yes, so to anybody wondering when the trailer drops, it does drop this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time in the US, 6 a.m. Pacific if you're out in LA or across the West Coast. If you are in the UK, you'll be getting it in the afternoon at 2 p.m. If you are in, like, say, for example, India, you'll be getting it like in your evening time between 7 and 7:30 p.m. And then if you are in Africa, for example, if you're in Egypt, Cairo, tomorrow is 5 p.m. in the evening. So these are the times. This is a post from the Daily Kryptonian. You can find him on social media. He did a great job of putting all these times together. So literally from when we are right now live, it's around 8 or so hours away. And John and I will wake up early in the morning and we will be here watching it live, reacting to it. So be sure to come back and stop by. We'll be talking about it. So yeah, and of course for all of you guys stopping in for the first time, as always, hit that like button so it helps us out. And of course, if you subscribe, then you'll know when we go live at the next episode. We are here 5 days a week. Henceforth, we'll be here tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. So, okay, now we're finally getting to the actual teaser first look at Superman. These are a couple of the shots. So the teaser to the teaser trailer was only like 30 seconds long. So it was a true teaser, whereas the actual teaser trailer is meant to be like 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes almost. What do you guys think about this flying sequence here? I certainly, that whole hitting it's breaking a sound barrier and stuff. It looks similar to the Zack Snyder Man of Steel, like the first flight sequence, but at the same time, you could see there's more color in here. I don't know if it's necessarily brighter, but you could see the cape has the S on the back, like the hair, the way that's going. It feels like it's almost like an upgrade, as in how even if they did that today for Man of Steel, some of these things would look different. It's updated, but I would say overall the cinematography and the action choreography of this, it's not much, but going off of what we do see, it feels closer to Man of Steel than obviously what we got before back, when Christopher Reeve was donning the cape, or certainly when even Brandon Routh was donning the cape. That was just a different era. I do feel a sense of comfort that the flying sequences here will be dynamic. Like they will feel like there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of kinetic, momentum behind it. What do you think about it, Liz? Are you excited to see this new Superman fly?
Yeah, it's great. I always look forward to seeing Superman fly. It's what makes Superman Superman. Look up, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a holy cow.
It's a drone. It's
how do you
faster
confuse
than a
bird?
locomotive? Yeah. No, I think it's great.
John, what about you?
Bless you, John. Bless you.
Are you enjoying the teaser to the teaser so far? The look.
Hell yeah! Just give me that fucking trailer already. Like, goddamn! Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, man.
Stop giving us teasers for teasers. Just give us the fucking trailer. Goddamn.
I do love what TC24 is saying, that him disappearing to the sun is beautiful. I'm telling you, I feel like I should put together a side by side of this where we see the first flight from like Man of Steel, and there's definitely like references here, at least visually, and James Gunn is perfectly aware of like how that was done. And so I'm not saying this is meant to be a homage to that, but it's kind of one of those things where there's only so many ways you can slice bread, right? So it's going about it in a way that feels similar isn't necessarily a matter of like he's trying to like honor what came before. It's more he feel like this is the best way to go about it. But James Gunn has, of course, done a good job with flying superhero. I think he did a good job with Adam Warlock's sequences in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So I feel like this. Obviously, you can't just build off of that purely because Adam Warlock was barely in the movie. However, here it just feels essentially Superman.
Just as long as it's not playing crazy on you, I think we should be okay.
Yeah. Well, now let's get into some of the frames from the actual teaser trailer. So, and by the way, thank you, Morkatna, for
this.
The
I
compliment.
Love the words of Danny DeVito. This I love.
This I love. It is essential Metropolis. I don't think we've seen a Daily Planet quite this comic book accurate since in Superman the movie Returns. World Superman Returns. I mean, in Lois and Clark we got it. Believe in the Globe. And I do. It even reminds me of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, right, with the Daily Bugle. It's like just going very
being like the Flatiron Building. Yeah,
really exactly. So I mean, John, I'll start with you. Like you watch this. This is like the first frame you see. How excited were you for the?
Look at this! What a glow up! I would say go get the fucking like the bland fucking black building that it was in fucking BVS, where it was just like fucking depressing as shit. And then look at this beauty right here. This is just amazing. Love this. No, fuck off. We don't want Batman fan service. Get the fuck out of here. We just want Superman. That's all. I just look. It's just beautiful. Like it's just amazing. Like, and I like the green kind of copper like roofing and all that. It's just like look at this amazing fucking piece right here. Love it.
And some of this is practical because they did build practical versions of this. Caleb, come on now. That's not cool, man. But yeah, Elite
I mean,
TC24 is like Dan's
you're
about to
not
have an
wrong.
aneurysm when he reads that. You know what, man? Why you guys gotta pick a fight? Like, why you gotta pick a fight? Jay Kelly's saying like the globe looks perfect. I agree with you guys. And again, we've seen photos all day today from all the different journalists who got to see the set in Cleveland, and they took the photos in front of like the downtown the town hall, basically, where they put up a smaller version of this. So of course this is sexy. Yeah, it looked, yes, exactly. I do agree with you that in Man of Steel they didn't quite do it right. I would have preferred to see this in Man of Steel, even though I like the movie. The Man of Gray. Batman is okay. All right. You know what? There's a lot of hate in the chat for Man of Steel. I'm just gonna try to avoid it. Liz, were you surprised to see this? Is this what you were expecting the Daily Planet to look like?
I don't know if surprise is the right word. I like it. I think it looks great. Like, again, it's bright, it's clean, it's not that dark that we got in BVS, which is part of the reason I hated BVS. I think it's awesome, and I'm again looking forward to it. James.
I like how they're kind of with the space. And I said this yesterday with the teaser for the teaser. I like how he's kind of mimicking the original Superman logo. It's obviously different. It's not like just stenciling, but like the bluish kind of hue and like in space, and it's like giving off that vibe, but it's still like doing its own thing. And I like that as well.
Yeah. Yep. And the tagline "Look Up." I feel like they'll probably have more than just the one, but to kind of lead off with that is perfect. And I mean, we've seen the behind the scenes of this stuff being shot in Cleveland. I was just really curious as to how that was gonna look in the movie on camera. Because again, I'm just so used to the Man of Steel aesthetic, because that is the last iteration of Superman we got, and it's kind of hard to compare that to what we got with the Brendan Routh and the ones before with Christopher Reeve, because quite simply the sensibilities of how movies are shot and made today and how we consume them in general are so different than like when Christopher Reeve was around. So I always wondered how those day sequences would look like, how much stylization would there be, and so far from what I'm seeing here, this looks almost like, I mean, obviously they might have punched up the colors, changed a few things here and there, but by and large, it doesn't look like they're, all of a sudden going with like the teal and orange look of like the Michael Bay movie, like the film effect that Hollywood was famous for, or like desaturating the heck out of it, like what Man of Steel did with the Zack Snyder, like very punchy contrast version. This feels a little more, like closer to the Arrowverse. And again, I mean that in the nicest of ways, and I'm not saying that this is going to be like the Arrowverse, but I'm just saying the Arrowverse, brighter, more colorful is in general what I'm going for. So, or at least what James Gunn is going for, I should say. But yeah, I mean, this trailer there's a lot of essential, like, like you look at this here, the staff, the entire staff of the Daily Planet, a lot of characters that people feel are essential to Superman, a lot of whom we didn't really get to see much of in Man of Steel. Here you go, John. Are you loving the cast and crew over at the Daily Planet?
I like the cinematography. Like, again, it feels like not real, almost like it feels like it's just like not. It's not quite. Yeah, it's like not quite real. Like it doesn't.
It's a bit of a step removed. It's like the Batman, even, right? Like where
it feels real, kind of like there's a softness to it. Like the hyper realism. Look at the daylight out the windows. Like there's like this kind of. It's not like lens flares or anything like that, but there's like kind of like a warmness.
There's a soft glow to it. It's almost like watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, like where you get like the soft glow effect a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes. Very. Although that's for the original series, not for Next Gen, but that's beside the point.
It's used in all of them. Calm down.
That's what I mean. Like all, like Voyager, and they all did that. Even Enterprise did it.
But yeah, I like. Yeah, no, he's Ron Troop. He's played by Christopher McDonald, not Shooter McGavin.
Yeah,
it's just another guy named Christopher McDonald. But yes, he was. I think he was reported, but I don't think he was ever seen on set when all the others were seen on set.
We got a little bit. I remember we got 1 or 2 photos, but he really didn't get a ton of him.
We didn't get
at
a
least
ton.
The photos they didn't catch much of him.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Keep JJ away. I mean, we saw his script for Superman Flyby or whatever the fuck it was called, and that was just like Kryptonian Kung Fu. Get the fuck out of here. Let's just keep JJ away from Superman. Keep away from DC. Let's just keep him in his little pocket, ruining Batman. Just like have him do that, and then we'll good. Yeah, like it's I don't know, like as I said, like it's not real, but it's like it feels like a movie. Like like I don't it's not like trying so hard to be like grounded, realistic, grounded and realistic. God, like no, none of that shit. He's like, this is a fucking movie. It's about a guy who flies. Like we're gonna have it like not feel like that. Like
I also love the earthy colors. You look at the color palette. If you were to boil this down to a color palette, I think Fiona would appreciate this as a graphic, as somebody who does a lot of graphic design work myself for the channel. You know, the thumbnail and all. You look at the colors here. If you were to kind of like quickly pick out the main colors, you're seeing a lot of browns and shades of green and just earthy colors, which again kind of ties into that look of it's not like New York City. Metropolis is meant to be more like, you know, smaller. Like in the movie, I believe it's in Delaware, right? Metropolis is in a part of Delaware. So it's not meant to be like Gotham. It's not as big of a
very
city.
like early 80s vibes, which
Exactly.
again it kind of harbors back to the feel of the first Superman film.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and then Lenny's saying the same. It's got that 80s fanciful burning our world vibe. No, yes, we agree with you entirely. I think that's exactly what they're going for. And so again, from a perspective of like you're trying to introduce the world to what the Superman movie is going to look like, giving them this, like each of these shots serves a purpose. Like here you're getting more of the cast. You're starting to get a little bit more of what the look is going to be. Again, when they go outside, the fact that they all have smartphones clearly tells you this takes place in like modern times, and yet what people are wearing, how they're dressed, some of the colors, it doesn't need to feel like it's absolutely like what you would see in New York City, for example, or Los Angeles or Chicago. It's more of like a mid-sized city and a little bit smaller. So
like
I do
a
like
Denver or something like that, where it's not like super big and
exactly.
Like it feels. I like that.
And these shots look like they have added a bit of a warming filter to it, the way that it's colored. So there was exactly, Lenny, we agree with you. So about just the way people are dressed, but it does look like what they were filming here. They are doing the opposite of what Zack Snyder did, which was like the cooler colors. Like they pulled down a lot of the reds out of it. You got more of the greens and the teals, whereas here it feels like everything has got more yellow in it, which again kind of.
But I like how it's not tones. Like but like you could feel like look at the colors in this scene. They jump out like before it was very like yellow because it was outside.
Yeah,
it's like very blue in this scene. Very like it's just like the harshness of colors, and I like that how it's like Man of Steel. It has its problems. It's just the one things I personally didn't like. I just don't like the gray. It just at least with like Wonder Woman, it worked. It's World War I. It's bleak. It worked there.
Wonder Woman was perfect the way they did that.
Yeah, it worked there because
that's what London looked like in World War I. It was freaking dirty and grimy and it's
retrofuturism as well. I was just gonna say retrofuturism, and I like this like and look at all.
Hello, Watcher.
Yes, hello, Watcher.
Hello, Tio.
Maybe this is just me, but like there's not also like I'm looking at this, but like there's not a lot of angular stuff here. There's not a lot of like rough angles, like the chairs are like kind of curvy, those lights in the background, there's like a curviness to it. The lights are kind of at a right angle, but it's not like it's just the way it's like it feels very like loose and chill, and like I like that, and it shows in like the mise-en-scène, I guess you could say, of like everything, how it's just very loose. I really like that.
It kind of again exudes that. I mean, this looks like they're like an ad agency of some kind. When you look at all the drawings that are on the boards in the back. But it's great. Again, just giving us an idea of what Metropolis looks like. Before you get to that whole Superman shot, I'll kind of pause it there. I do appreciate here the way the hair is sort of flying. It's not just completely slicked back. I like the way the cape is there. And I really appreciate the decision to put the logo on the cape so that when you see this kind of a shot, you're still seeing the S. come on. He is allergic to colors in the way he grades his movies, but I mean, you watch The Watchmen, or if you watch The Owls of Ga'Hoole, Zack Snyder does do color sometimes, but he tends to be more muted.
Yeah.
Whereas James Gunn is way more like expressive with his colors, and I do love that too. I mean, I'm not saying you can like one and not like the other though. So that's all I'm saying. And the Watcher saying Gunn was inspired by Silver Age Superman comics as well, which were in the 70s. So again, exactly, it kind of ties into it all. And yes, the Watcher. Are they gonna be next level? Wow. Okay. Geek Informant. Who let Geek Informant into the chat? Get him out of here. But yes. The flying scenes, I mean, you get a little peek. Again, James Gunn's edging us. It's fine, whatever. But I can't wait to see more of it. And again, we're seeing more and more of these sequences. You've got like the little dog there. I don't know if that's not one of those iconic brands from DC Comics. I'm sure we're gonna get that. This shot just feels like again, it's part of that whole sequence. And the way they're reacting there, though, it feels like this is where there's some kind of like big monster rampaging through the city. I know that like the big Starro from was that called Starro in the Suicide Squad? What was the name of the big starfish?
Yeah,
it's canon to the DCU, we have heard, right? So I wonder whatever monster is rampaging through Metropolis, if it's something kind of in line with that, or if it's something completely different. Because we know we're gonna get thrown straight into the action. So I have a feeling that the movie will open up with Superman, Mr. Terrific, and all of them sort of like taking on some kind of big monster right before we get into the main story of the movie. So maybe that's what this is. And then I don't know where this is from. This looks like some kind of research station. Maybe this is what they were shooting in Svalbard when they were in the Nordics. So this could be it. So like there's.
Well, I mean, they're wearing Hawaiian shirts, so that's probably unlikely.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. They would be wearing something much warmer. We got Yush in the chat. He's like, I'm hyped for this basic ass looking movie. I don't know what that means, man. Are you actually being sarcastic, or are you excited for this movie?
No, they're a troll. He's like, sheesh, not gonna lie, the cinematography looks awful. Like, all right. We got it. We got our Zack Snyder troll, everybody. What are you gonna say? Hashtag restore the Snyderverse next. Can't let Henry go, can't let Zack go. Is that what's gonna happen now?
Look, you can still love those movies. They still exist. It just means
they
that
still
now
exist.
we're going
They're
with
just
the
not
new
anymore.
iteration.
So
yeah,
get fucked. Anyway, look up.
Look up.
But yeah, I think I liked the very simple like turning heads kind of thing, and we're kind of getting the like. I love that shooting up. Like it reminds me of the Man of Steel teaser where he shoots up, and like that was. And I know everyone that. Oh, great! Now all the Snyder fans are gonna be like, "They're copying Man of Steel. This is gonna suck." So.
Oh no, Man's of Time has a good point. He said that guy with the Hawaiian shirt is holding a LuthaCorp paper as well. So that is also a hint that they, could be something related to Lex Luthor, some kind of research facility down in Hawaii or something that they're looking into. So that's cool.
Wait,
well spotted.
How do we know this? How did you even see that?
This is what he's saying. That's what he's saying it says.
I can't read anything of what's on that piece of paper, bro. Oh, right there. Oh, it's the dude on the right. Okay, that does say Luthor Corp. You're right. Yep.
Well spotted.
Perfect. That's a great Easter egg. All right. Well, Luthor's up to no good, I guess. Hunter Iggy in the chat. Did you see David Ayer got death threats from Zack Snyder Bros for supporting?
Just ridiculous. Ridiculous. What is wrong with people? Get a life. Get a life.
We need that. We need that William Shatner clip stat.
Yeah, we're gonna find it. Don't you worry. We're gonna find it. Look, you can love one and still love the other. You don't need to be like, just because you like Man of Steel that you have to hate this movie, or vice versa. Okay. I'm just saying, like, and it's it's art is
it should be about the franchise. So. It should be about DC. It shouldn't be about.
I don't know. Like, I feel like
that record. It's so ridiculous.
Well, yeah, because they're going on about the cinematography. It looks like they're like, okay, it's just, I don't know. It's just.
Thank you.
Like, I don't want every movie to look like the Batman though. I want every movie to look and feel different, and I think the cinematography looks pretty good here. Like, I don't know.
Also, the subject matter of the Batman really lent itself to like all the elements of like cinematography that create drama with like the noir and dark. We have only seen literally less than this thing's 30 seconds, but literally half of it is just graphics. So we haven't even seen 30 seconds of this movie. So to be quite frank, the parts that do impress me are like the flying sequence. So when we get to the actual trailer in a few hours' time, I'm sure when we get a closer look at it, it will look great. And you know what? Like you said, John, it doesn't need to look like an absolute masterpiece that gets an Oscar nomination for cinematography or anything like that. It could still be an amazing movie. There's plenty of MCU movies that people love the hell out of, like Endgame, for
It looked like
example.
dog shit.
You know, there's a lot of sequences in those movies that didn't look like the best thing cinematography had ever,
pretty much most Marvel movies have terrible cinematography.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, because they're all kind of just cranked out, like with the exception of another James Gunn original with Guardians 2. Guardians 2, without a doubt, is the most beautiful looking MCU movie, period.
It is very beautiful. Yeah, I will agree with you there.
So that's like, I know it can be like, when it comes to out of this world cinematography, James Gunn could do that very well. Like, he knows what he wants, and he can, we don't need like, we need to go to Mexico, put on a yellow tint for that shit. Like, we don't need
that's a very CSI low and one of those show moves where you don't have the budget, so you'd use the techniques you got.
I don't think did Age of Ultron use a.
There was when they get to what's the countries that they destroy in that movie?
Sokovia?
Sokovia.
No. That was in
when they
Civil
get there.
War.
It's got this like very gold. No. Sokovia got this. No, that was the consequences of that was Civil War. They actually destroyed Sokovia in Age of Ultron, and that's where like when we got to Sokovia, like everything had like this golden tint to it. I mean, there is a bit of a blue tint to this. When you guys said Highball was mentioning, which by the way, hello Highball. Haven't seen you in the chat before, but welcome. And as far as the color grading goes, each movie has its own color grade. Like one of you guys mentioned in the chat, this isn't the final product. They're still working on this. Some of this might look different by the time the movie comes out. So let's not look at this and be like, oh my god, we're in trouble. I will say though, the Batman trailers looked absolutely beautiful, and so far here for a Superman movie, this looks great. As far as comparing it to the Batman, I think it's apples and oranges. They're two so very different movies. It's hard to kind of put them in the same sentence and be like, the cinematography of one should line up with the other, because they're just meant to be so completely very different stories. Having said that, of course, that the teaser trailer is coming out. It's coming out in a few hours. It's coming out in literally, what is it now? It's 1:09 here, and
8 hours for us.
It's less than 8 hours away. We're gonna have to, in that time, get some sleep, wake up, be ready to go, and then be live with the trailer reaction. So we hope that you guys come and join us. One of the fans on Threads was asking like maybe they should like do a version of a poster with this, because of course this whole teaser trailer hints at people looking up in the sky, and since "look up" is like the big tagline. John, do you think this would be like a good idea, like doing a poster like this, or doing an iteration on this?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. Somebody posting that, and I felt like, I mean, it works with the tagline, like that. Just also, although I will say the guy in the bottom right next to the firefighter, totally looks like Dr. Mike. I don't know if anybody else here watches Dr. Mike, but he totally looks like Dr. Mike. Let me know in the chat, any Dr. Mike fans here. Do you think I'm right? The guy in the blue shirt and the red shoes. But yeah,
I can definitely see an homage to a scene like this in the movie.
Yeah.
So, because of course there's a lot of him saving people in the middle of the city, so in the middle of Metropolis. Now, of course, before we finish up, I wanted to look ahead, because as much as we are all so excited for Superman, there is also, of course, what did King G say? Liz is telling us like his quote is hilarious.
Oh no, you already used this quote. It's all good.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right, we already did. Never mind. But yes, so tomorrow, as much as we're excited for Superman, and we're gonna talk a lot about the trailer in the morning, John is also going to wake up extra early to watch the latest episode 4 of Creature Commandos, and of course today they're. And Liz as well. I mean, you guys could do like a whole.
I'm actually gonna not wake
along.
up at 3 to watch it. I'm actually gonna.
You're
sleep,
just gonna. Yes, please do.
I'll be up, so I'll turn it on when it comes on. So yeah, I'll be up anyway.
They put up like all of these like character profiles today, which I think is like a weird. I mean, maybe it indicates something that they're putting it up after episode 3, like particularly in the middle of the show, pretty much. And I like how with the Weasel it crossed off deceased because they thought he died in the Suicide Squad, but apparently he survived. And isn't the episode this week meant to be about him and his lawyer trying to like figure out like how to get him out of his situation, which deployed to Redacted as member of Redacted, died from Redacted, revision, found alive. I'm just like, there's a lot of nice comedy just built into that. Of course, we're getting a whole lot of nothing for the bride, so that makes sense. Do not agitate immortal. It's just some nice notes.
Again, I'm looking forward to the soundtrack for this one.
Yeah.
Every week brings a new delight to my ears. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Speaking of which, he's updated the playlist for episode 4. So if you're on Spotify, go check out the Creature Commandos playlist James Gunn put out.
And you can check it out for free. You don't have to purchase. So pump the brakes. Don't freak out.
Yep. Star City
so
Sea Creature. That's an interesting affiliation. So,
all right, Star City. We got
City.
Star City. That's awesome.
There's a Star City mention. That's the first one in the DCU.
Yeah, because as we know, Peacemaker did say Green Arrow definitely goes to brony conventions and the second half of a Twilight Sparkle outfit. And then Stephen Amell got really offended because he's a bitch.
Stephen Amell, poor Stephen Amell.
I don't feel bad. He's a fucking asshole. So fuck that guy.
Well, I mean, to me, there's a couple of nice Easter eggs in here. It does give us a sense of like what's to come, some of the things that we've already seen, other elements
it's been a
where
long
again
time
it's just
since
adding to the lore. Yeah. Well,
it's been a long time since G.I. Robot sent Nazis back to hell. He died doing what he loved, sending Nazis back to hell.
That was great.
By the way, guys, there's twice as many of you watching as the likes on this video. We would really appreciate it if you like hit that like button for us, because that really does help us out and gets us in more in front of more people, like, you know, gets us in the algorithm. That, and of course, if you're enjoying the show, then that's another reason to hit the like button. I'm excited to see however many different, you know, settings we get in the new DCU. James Gunn certainly has the ability to juggle a lot of the balls in the air at the same time and dig deep into comic book lore. So I think, you know, we've got a super nerd in charge, and he's gonna give us everything we're looking for. So I'm excited. Episode 4 is tonight, Michael. And by the way, Michael, for the first time in the chat, not Michael K, Michael Walters in the chat. Hello. And as far as timing goes, so just to kind of quickly review again, it's a big day for DC. So let's quickly go through this one more time. So Superman releases its teaser trailer later this morning. It's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Pacific time. If you're in London, it's 2 p.m. If you're in, let's say, India, it's going to be 7:30 p.m. in different parts of Asia. If you're in Tokyo, it's 11 p.m. If you're in parts of South America, like Buenos Aires or Rio de Janeiro, it's 11 a.m. for you. If you're in South Africa, like Johannesburg, it's 5 p.m. for you, or Cape Town or Nairobi, 5 p.m. If you're in Sydney or Auckland, if you're in Sydney, it's 1 a.m. So, you know, pretty, you know, late in the night. Or Auckland, you might even be later than that, 3 a.m.
What is that for you, Michael K? Is that going to be 2 a.m. for Michael K in South Australia, probably?
Probably
2 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah. Miraculous is like, I'm getting no sleep, I guess. Yes. So speaking of getting no sleep, now, of course, while you're waiting for the Superman trailer to drop, it's going to be, you know, what now, like about 6.5 hours, more or less, 7 hours, whatever. Like we're 1:15 a.m. on the East Coast, so 9 a.m. If you do the math, you're about 7 hours and 7.5 hours more or less away. Now, in the meantime, you can watch the Creature Commandos episode 4, which drops, and correct me if I'm wrong here, John, but it does drop at 3 a.m. Eastern time. So that is literally less than 2 hours away,
guys, on the East Coast.
Less than 2 hours away. So you can watch Creature Commandos episode 4 and then maybe take a nap and then wake up and then watch the trailer for Superman. We're going to be back live. And yeah, Antonio, we do have quite a few people in the chat today, and we appreciate every single one of you guys stopping by and engaging with us in the live chat, as well as, of course, hopefully hitting the like button. And if you're not subscribed, then what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. We are here 5 days a week. And we'll be back in the morning. We'll do a live reaction. We'll get your comments. We're going to literally pause on pretty much every frame of the movie. We're going to talk about it. We're going to obsess about it. We're going to like, you know, critique it. We're going to look ahead to what that means. Like, you know, all the whys and the whos and the whats and the don'ts and the whatever else we will come up with. I'm sure there'll be surprises in the trailer that we don't expect. There's things that will confirm some of our theories. It will be me and John and I, and Lizz will be heading to bed and just getting her beauty sleep, which as she should. So of course we are also a week away from Christmas. So guys, if I don't know if you guys celebrate or not, but it's the holiday season. I hope you're feeling festive. We are, of
A week
course.
from Hanukkah too.
A week from Hanukkah too. It's that time of the year, and it's
Can't forget about the Jews.
Exactly. Well, great, John.
The next T-shirt in the merch.
Hey, don't forget about the Jews.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
And then and then it's just the cover of Jiu-Jitsu, the fighting of the Yiddish people or whatever the hell.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Kupperberg did a book on that my friend gave to my Jewish friend. So I forgot, I gotta text him on that. But yeah, there's an actual book about that, by the way. So fun fact.
By the way, we do have some fan comments to get into before we finish up. So let's rip through those real quick. Farsendor wrote to us yesterday saying, I came for the Superman talk, but watched the entire video. Thank you. My kid is 11, and I will be happy for him to watch, read, or anything with diverse people and woke topics. I don't know if woke topics was being sarcastic or not. Superman is also my favorite hero.
I think that was referring to the Disney TV show. That we talked about.
Right. We talked about the Pixar show from the world of Inside Out. Was it? Okay. Are you guys on Blue Sky? We're not on Blue Sky yet, but we're working our way there. We will let you know when we are there. We are on all the other ones though, so you can find us on Threads, Facebook, X, Twitch. You're live on Twitch right now. You might be watching us on Twitch or of course YouTube. Next comment, Jake Kells, you're in the chat. So you were writing to us about essentially what we talked about yesterday on the show. About the trunks and why, or I think it was 2 days ago, why James Gunn was perhaps not so convinced to include the trunks, and then David Cornsweet convinced him. And then Jay Kells had this take. He said, I think they're dressing like a wrestler to make kids feel comfortable with an all-powerful alien should be made canon in the DCU. I absolutely hate Superman wearing his underwear on the outside of his pants. I agree with you, by the way. But I can't argue that logic from David at all. Same. So make it canon. Hell, have Superman say it in the movie and shut nerds like me up. And that's something to which I believe a couple of you guys in the chat right now also responded saying, yes, it would be perfect if they actually brought it up and addressed it with a few lines of dialogue. I mean, I don't know, John, do you feel like that's the way to go about it now?
I mean, personally, I think they should ignore it because it's so much funnier that it's like this guy wears his underwear on the outside and nobody questions it, because that's what I want from DCU. I don't want just Marvel, because in a Marvel movie, they would do that. Like, what's with this guy wearing his underwear on the outside? I don't want that. I don't fucking want that shit. Like, I don't want that fucking bullshit, cringy ass Marvel humor in my Superman movie. So I would say just ignore it. Maybe you can like have a serious exchange about it, of him talking about it, but like I don't want like cringy humor based around it, or like either and like have it. I prefer like no mention, but if you want to have a serious discussion, I think that's okay. But
I feel like if Mr. Terrific, maybe Guy Gardner walks up to him and he's like, I'm more of a boxer guy myself, like something like that. It's just like a subtle hint at it, like I'm more of a boxer briefs guy by myself, like rather than in trunks, sort of a thing. And then Superman just kind of like laughs it off, and then we just kind of move on. But no, I think it's great because again, it's sort of like highlighting the bulge in a way that maybe would have been hidden better if they didn't have it. But we'll see. We will see. Steven Anderson, you are always dropping comments. We love you so much. For you, as you watch the episode, you leave us comments. So we love to follow along your comments as we go through the episode. So you told, actually this is for John. John, this is a compliment for you. Yesterday there was a couple of little tiny mistakes in the show in terms of how we do things.
Yeah, just
John was hosting. John's not used to
hosting,
but it's okay because like everybody messes up sometimes. It takes a lot of practice. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years. But John, Steven was very supportive of you. He said, John, you can host this show. I believe in your fluffy, intelligent teddy bear ass.
Yeah. I like to take that as a compliment to the great Gabriel Iglesias, so I'll take it. Although in the 6 levels of fatness, I think I'm either big or healthy. I don't think I'm fluffy levels. I think I'm big or healthy. So,
you're a bear.
Well, I'm not a bear because I'm not gay, but you know, it is what it is.
You'd still be called bear.
But yeah, I think you know, because anyone who doesn't know the 6 levels of fatness is big, healthy, husky, fluffy, damn, or oh hell no.
No, I think he added that new level. One of those is a new level that he added.
Yeah,
right?
the 6th one was new. He's like, now he's like, they're originally 5.
Yeah,
now
they're
6 because I met a
6.
guy who was 6 because he's like, I sell t-shirts after the show, and this guy came up, and I go to 5XL. This guy came up to me, he's like, you don't have my size. He's like, bro, I didn't know they made you.
They made you. I've seen. Yeah,
I
Fluffy's great.
Fluffy is the best.
Love Fluffy. Well, speaking of Fluffy, Magical Sky Wizard, he was like, I would smolder for you guys. I'm part Italian, and I have those really thick brows.
We know of Italians that have thick eyebrows. But yeah, I can guarantee that Magic Sky Wizard, but I prefer with the beard stroking. I think the beard stroking really adds to it. Although I do need to trim my beard a little bit. Just because it's a little uneven, but that's okay. Yeah.
All right.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Nothing. I just love the title. I'm still waiting for the Morbius kills God, Morbius 7. I can't wait for the Morbin universe. Like maybe that's what Sony should do next. All right, Jay Kell's back in the comments here. Gunn wrote. So this is addressing what you said, John. Gunn wrote Dawn of the Dead and was a producer on Brightburn. He definitely can direct a Clayface movie, in my opinion. John, you were not a big fan of the idea of James Gunn directing a Clayface movie. There's a rumor out there that he might do so. Of course, it also kind of contradicts with the fact that James Gunn wants to slow down a little bit. So jumping back in the director's chair next year.
That's what Lizz said yesterday. That just made sense that he wouldn't like do that because I agree with Lizz. The man. We're getting worried for his health at this point. Like we're worried for Dan's health on his 12th monster of the day. So, I
have not drunk one of those in several weeks. Actually, that's not true. I had one last week
I don't
on the
believe
show.
that for several weeks. I don't believe
several days.
If you said
several
hours,
days.
Weeks, not a chance, buddy. Not a chance.
Anyway,
I'll have to check that out, Lenny. I haven't seen it yet, though. Yeah.
I don't think whoever has like a deal with Warner Brothers, they could probably do. But I would say I remember somebody recommending Del Toro and Raimi, but Del Toro's currently doing Frankenstein, so that seems unlikely. But Sam Raimi, if he's not doing anything, because he's kind of, he did do Multiverse of Madness, but I don't think he's like under contract at Marvel. So, and he's not doing Spider-Man 4 because they're idiots. They're getting the guy who did Shang-Chi. Makes no sense. So he's probably free to do it, and I think that would definitely work. So get Sam Raimi to fucking do it, Exactly. Like he is a co-CEO. I know Peter Safran does the business side of things, but yeah, he is the face of the company at this point. So, but yeah, like let him like actually take charge and like do that part of the job rather than directing every fucking thing. So yeah. I'm not saying he couldn't, because he has directed some horror movies in the past, but like I would want someone who can like really do that like really well, like someone who has experience with blockbusters but also can do something like very like personal and tragic. I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but the director of The Autopsy of Jane Doe and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Andre Øvredal, I think that's how you pronounce his name. If I'm getting it wrong, I apologize. I think he could do it. I think he's done a lot of great stuff in the past, and he has some experience with like bigger budgeted movies, but can do like a personal story. I think he would be a good choice as well. But whoever they get, I think they would do a good job. Just don't get like
I'm just saying maybe if they can turn it into a 1920s story, because again the DCU doesn't have to have everything take place in the present day. Maybe that brings Robert Eggers into the fold potentially. Sam Raimi would be a good pick too. I don't know what he's up to these days, but yeah. Well, we talked about it at length the other day, but hey, today we basically dissected the heck out of everything James Gunn said and all the little pieces of footage we got from what was really less than 30 seconds of footage from a teaser of a teaser of a teaser of a teaser of the teaser trailer for Superman that's meant to be releasing.
Venom.
Yep. Or Craven. Or in this case, Superman. We're less than 8 hours away now from the trailer. So we'll be back here to talk about it, to watch it with you guys and react to it. But hey, thanks for joining us. Wow, we went way over 2 hours today. Liz looks like she's probably going to go take a nap.
She's like, I'm
wakes
so
up
fucking
for
done with
Commandos.
this.
Team no sleep, gang. Team no sleep.
No
sleep.
sleep till Brooklyn. So
exactly.
yeah,
Well, no, John, you
it.
need to get sleep before
I
you
need to
get
get
Brooklyn.
sleep, but
Yeah.
not for Liz. She has to fucking
yes.
go off and do her real
Yeah.
job and all
All
that
good.
shit. So it's like, oh,
All good, gang.
Well, all right. Well, John and I are going to go get some rest, and then we'll be right back at it in a few hours' time. Until then, like John was doing, hit that like button and tickle that notification bell. If you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. We see a lot of new names in the chat today. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back in the morning, and then, of course, we're also going to be back on Friday. I think we're going to be talking about, like, Bane fan casting, and then maybe a little bit about where potentially Batista fits in the DCU. James Gunn loves his folks, his Guardians. Then maybe he'll bring him in. And of course, there'll be, I'm sure, more news from the world of DC. We got Lanterns to talk about. So whatever else breaks, whoever James Gunn responds to on social media next, we will have that takedown or response, whatever that James Gunn is doing. I'm sure we'll talk about it. So until then, guys, go out there, watch something DC related. Check out Creature Commandos. We will review that as well in the morning. Creature Commandos episode 4, and then of course we'll break down the teaser trailer. It's finally here, or almost here. It's the Superman teaser trailer, and we'll see you next time on another episode of DCU Daily.